begin today's podcast, we have a quick word from our sponsor. Everyone's favorite time of year is right around the corner, college football season. To celebrate, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new players in the center of the action with $200 in free bets instantly if you bet $1 or more on any college football game. Take advantage of this limited-time offer now. You heard right. DraftKings is giving all new players $200 in free bets instantly if you place one bet of $1 or more on any college football game, no matter what. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and check out all of the great promotion and daily odd boosts that they are offering. DraftKings Sportsbook is safe, secure, and reliable and located right here in the United States, so it's easy to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN to receive $200 in free bets when you place $1 bet on any college football game. Again, that's promo code THPN to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, and Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is the grumpy old man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
And with us, special guest, Coach Tommy B. First time he's been on back. First time he's been back on the podcast since the postseason. Oh, what is that, Grumpy?
That's now I've been doing some investigative work since it's been established that Tommy Baffy is the nighttime janitor of the New York Islanders in their headquarters, and I wound up getting this picture taken, and yes, it is indeed Tommy Baffy.
Is that a self-portrait of Tommy Baffy? I know you were hypothesizing that the reason Tommy Baffy is the man with the inside hand and he's got all the inside scoops is because he does clean, the trash cans at night, and he does happen to see those slips of paper that Lou Lamoriello goes ahead and slides over to other teams' agents or other players' agents, and so that's how he's able to come up with these numbers and estimates. Is that true, Tommy?
Yeah, it's not anything like he's smart or anything or has any contacts. It's just by dumb luck, emptying out the trash.
Okay, now I brought something with me today. Okay, I hope this doesn't get me fired. I really don't. I hope that Lou has a good sense of humor and allows me to stay on with him. But I did bring this with me. Okay.
Oh my God!
I brought it with me.
Garbage.
And I took this today, and I do see a couple of notes in here and stuff. So I'm going to have to open these during the show to see what they say.
Oh my! This is news to me. I love.
Okay, one thing before we get started, TJ. I just want to say one thing. First of all, Lou does have a sense of humor because he continues to let Josh Bailey be part of this organization, and that has to be something humorous that he does. But TJ, if people like this podcast, if they like what we do, what should they do?
Thank you, Grump, for reminding me again. If you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. You like and follow us there on Facebook and Twitter. And also subscribe to wherever you listen to your podcasts. Again, we'll be going live every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as majority of the Wednesdays this offseason at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To make sure you don't miss out on any of the action and content, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like and follow on Facebook and Twitter. And again, we also do have a general sports podcast. We do that every single Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we talk all sports controversy across everything. It's just me and grumpy old man duking it out, having a good time. Make sure you subscribe to that channel too. It is in the link in the description below. Thank you for reminding me, Grump. I always forget.
Thank you. And Isles Girl 3, the very popular Isles Girl 3, will be on the show on Saturday.
She's great.
Just to let people know.
Absolutely.
Kim is great. She's a sweetheart.
She doesn't like Tommy Baffy or anything he stands for, honestly. So I like her.
That one is.
Kim's she's great. She's an awesome Islander fan. I actually have done, I've done stuff with her on what I did with Paul Kreischer on Islanders Talk. She is a pleasure to hang out with, by the way, and she is a very, very passionate fan, as much as anybody I know, by the way. So she's one of our new generation fans, by the way. So we need more like him. We need more fans like her.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good-looking fans are always the best.
That's true too.
Grumpy.
They could be good-looking like me too. Whatever.
It's been relatively quiet on the Islanders front. Now I don't expect a flurry of information to be rolling out, and I'm not worried. Did want to get your take on that too, Tommy. I know Grumpy Old Man and I have discussed multiple times. Not worried just quite yet. If we don't have any big fish, using quotation marks there, by training camp, or when training camp's starting to roll around, I might be getting a little nervous. I'm antsy in my seat. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. I'm not sure your take on it, Grumpy or Tommy Baffy, if you have a little different opinion.
I don't have any. I'm not sweating at all. I mean, I kind of know what he's got in the bag. As far as we know, certain players are already signed. He just hasn't released those contracts yet because he really wants to keep his cap space flexible for whatever else he's trying to do right now. Okay, now can it be frustrating to the average fan who wants everybody signed on the first day of free agency? And we know that as Islander fans. Hey, look, who do we used to sign on the first day of free agency? Pat Conacher. I mean, that's the type of free agent guys we would get. So people love to have that win on the opening day of free agency. It just makes fans feel good. But does it really matter if you get that player on the opening day of free agency or if you get him on September 1st? Does it really matter?
No.
He just plays his cards a different way. I can understand why fans get frustrated with that. And yeah, would I like to know what Kyle Palmieri's contract is right now? Would I like to know what Casey Zizekas' contract right now? What did they sign Sorokin for? What did they sign Pavilli? I want to know. But there's obviously a reason he hasn't announced this, right, guys? He hasn't announced this yet because there's something else that he's working on. And he's trying to complete it. The popular thought, and I figure we're going to be touching this subject today, is St. Louis and Tarasenko. That's the popular thought, that's the deal that he's working on. I mean, you've heard all the rumors, the Devils, the Islanders, the Rangers primarily, right? The three Metro teams. And then the Devils go and sign Tatar a couple days ago, which leads you to believe that the Devils couldn't complete a deal. I also have a different theory on that Tarasenko would not waive his no trade to go to New Jersey. That's a theory that I have. Can't confirm it, but I believe that has something to do with that. Because I think the Devils probably would have had more assets more than anybody to probably make that deal work if you really want to look at it. I think he wants to be either with the Islanders or the Rangers. I really do. And I think Lou is waiting it out for the best deal possible if he can pull the Tarasenko trade off.
Now, I think there's a few things we'll touch on. Now, you were making us privy to some information beforehand that you heard through the grapevine. Now, apparently Tarasenko's medicals have some question marks behind them, is what you had heard. Is that true and accurate?
Yes.
A little more to that, Coach Tommy B.
I am hearing, I mean, that has been, I think the first thing that actually backs that up a little bit is Seattle. I think Seattle backs that up a bit because Seattle could have worked something out where they could have cashed in with Tarasenko and gotten a nice return. So I think that's the first part of that backs that up. Now, the rumor out there is that the medicals are not great. And the last time I was on this show with you guys, and it is an honor to be on this show with you two gentlemen.
You got that right.
And I told you that if I was the Islanders or I was any other team and I had interest in Tarasenko, I am not trusting the St. Louis Blues medicals in this specific situation. I want him to do a physical with my physicians, and I want to run MRIs with my physicians and go over those tests to make sure that his shoulder is good enough to play in the NHL. Something tells me that teams are not liking the medicals that St. Louis has sent, and that probably they're requesting their own exams. And I would think St. Louis would probably be reluctant to do that, to let you examine their property. So I think that's a problem with this trade. And I do think his medicals are showing up bad, and that's what I've heard.
I would think that as soon as if you can get something where a deal is close, they would let you do a physical on a guy before any deal is complete. I mean, that's the way it is in every single sport. You mentioned something earlier, Tommy. I'm just I'm gonna pick apart the little things you say because we know one of those Islander glad handers. I know, believe me, we know. And you mentioned, what does it matter if we make the big splash early or the big splash late? My prediction is, as it's always been, we will make no splash in the offseason because we never have. I mean, I'm looking, what would be our big splash this year? Would it be 37-year-old Zach Parise?
That's not a splash.
Well, but those are usually the splashes he makes, like bringing back a Matt Martin, signing a Leo Komarov. These are the type of offseason splash that we've become accustomed to as Islander fans with Lou Lamoriello at the helm. So, I mean, I'm looking at what type of splash could be made. My prediction, and I'm never wrong, is we won't make a splash in the offseason because we never do. Then we'll trade away a myriad of first-round draft picks, seconds, to pick up some ham and egger like the F- Kyle Palmieri, and then that'll be our big improvement. So I'm just kind of concerned about those things. That's all.
I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you to be concerned with that. I've been an Islander fan since I was basically 5 years old in 1975. How many big splashes have the Islanders made through the history of my life? Not just Lime Malera. How many have we ever really made?
Andrew Ladd, he was our big splash.
To me, the biggest one, even in my era, which is crazy to say, is Mark Streit. Was probably one of the biggest ones in this time span, this era, who was a very good hockey player. He was a very good defenseman. He was a good captain. But that was about one of the best signings we made during my time that had some splash behind it when they signed him. Like, this is a really good player we just signed. I was kind of shocked he came here. We haven't made a lot of those. I mean, right now he's built a team that is winning and obviously getting to the Final Four. Are they missing that big final piece? I'm one who agrees we're missing the big final piece. I agree with it. It's not always easy to get. We live in a cap era with a flat cap right now at 81.5, and it's not always easy to get the guy you want to get. Like, I was going through Cap Friendly today and looking at all the teams' cap numbers, and I'm going, look at all these teams right now that are against the cap or over it. Like Florida today signed Reinhart and put themselves right up against the cap. That was a great trade, by the way, picking up Reinhart by Florida.
Yeah.
I love it. They just signed into a 3-year deal. They're now $1 million under the cap. I mean, and I looked, there are about 15 teams that are within $1 million or over the cap right now. So now if I'm a Lou, I want to go over those teams' rosters because they are squeezed. And I want to see if there's a deal I can make. St. Louis is one of them right now. I don't know if people realize that St. Louis is only like $1.9 million under the cap. So how much can they actually give us back? If we trade for Tarasenko and we trade, let's just say there's a popular belief out there that it would be Josh Bailey going back to the St. Louis Blues in a Tarasenko trade. All right. And we want money to keep it evened out. And we don't want to take on the extra 2.5 in the cap. How much can St. Louis can't even give you back the 2.5 right now? They don't have it.
Let me ask you why it's such a big deal if we've got an ample amount of cap space, why they need to go ahead and offload an extra $2 million off the cap. And my thought process, okay, so I think there's a lot to break down. I want to hit back and I'll ask you later on about the medicals because that's something that's going to baffle me. If he does not have a good shoulder, I want nothing to do with the guy.
That's fair.
First of all, he's not a janitor at the doctor's office. He's the janitor at the Islanders headquarters, all right? I mean, I realize he's a janitor, but doesn't mean you're a janitor everywhere, TJ.
I thought it was ubiquitous. And that because he works as a janitor there at the doctor's office, he can also clean at the doctor or the.
I'm trying to use it. What was it like? That your word of the day, like your little dictionary word, ubiquitous. I mean, no one knows even what you're talking about. So, small words. Anyway, I'm
not too worried if we have the available cap space, if we have to eat $2 million additionally off, if we offload a guy like a Josh Bailey in a trade, to see this go on and on, it would make me think that St. Louis's asking price is more than what the bidders are willing to offer out there, is what I'm thinking, and that could be for a multitude of reasons.
Yeah, say they're asking for, all right, we'll take back the $5 million in Bailey, but say they're also asking and saying, all right, but we want Bellows and your second-round pick next year thrown into the trade. Are you making that trade for a guy with 3 shoulder surgeries?
No.
I mean, if that's what they're asking for. Are you making it? Because I'm not.
No, I'm not either. But the whole thing is, you got to remember how close the window for this team is short. It's short. At some point in time, if you want to go all in, then actually go all in. I mean, to me,
I understand that.
Trading for guys like Travis Zajac and Kyle Palmieri, to me, that's not going all in. Go for some Transchenko.
Jesus Christ, Grumpy.
Tarasenko.
What is he thinking about?
I'm thinking about TJ. Tarasenko could be
just call him Vladdy.
A difference maker.
Call him Vladdy.
He could be a difference maker for this team. Those other guys are not difference makers. They're just not. But this guy could be. And I'm like I said, for me, I don't care if we have to take some money back. And as I brought it up in this podcast previously, you keep on signing a whole bunch of these third and fourth line ham and eggers. That's the least of my worries. I'd much rather hold that money for a big fish if we could get that. And then you just backfill with those guys. Like Zach Parise. I could care less if Zach Parise plays for this team at 37 years old. I could care less. He's a third at the best. He's the third line depth guy. And I'd much rather save that money if we need it to make sure that we get Tarasenko or someone of that ilk, as opposed to let's make sure we got this guy signed. Let's make sure we got this other Travis Zajac signed. Let's make sure we got all these other bottom feeders signed. I could care less about those guys. They're a dime a dozen. A dime a dozen.
Well, let's make a point here on Zach Parise, okay? The rumor on his deal is that it is the minimum of $750K, and then there's some bonus money that he can earn, which doesn't affect just this year's cap. That would affect next year's cap,
like Andy Green did.
Yeah, like Andy Green did. So let's say you make a good point sometimes that when you talk about how we overspend for our fourth line players, right? We overspend for Martin, we overspend for Clutterbuck, we overspend for Zizekas. Well, now here we are able to stick a player on the third line at minimum against our cap, who I think we both can admit is an upgrade over a Dow Cole and is an upgrade over a Komarov on that unit, and probably will fit well with Pajot. So, in a sense, signing Parise actually gives us a little more cap flexibility because he's only costing $750K.
For me, I'd much rather play Kiefer Bellows than invest in him. I'd much rather give him a legitimate shot to win that job. And here's the thing, Zach Parise, like I said, he wasn't even good enough to play for Minnesota at the end. He was a healthy scratch. I mean, to me, I'm sorry. That's a guy you say, you know what, Zach, if someone else can sign you earlier, go for it. Yes, you're in our plans. We have other things. We'd love to get back to you. I mean, that's the way you approach it. You don't say, okay, yeah, we got the gentleman's agreement and you're going to get bonus money, 4 goals for you is going to give you another $2 million bonuses. Who knows what it is? But they did the same thing with Andy Green, right?
Andy
Green cost an extra 1.3 against our cap this year because of the bonuses that we signed. Stop signing the old guys and giving them bonuses. If they really want to be here and be part of a winning culture, they're not getting bonuses. Because how many real suitors are there for a 39-year-old Andy Green and a 37-year-old cast Zach Parise? I'm going to bet not too many.
No, not too many. There would have been suitors, but not many. I agree. And people would have been the suitors on minimum wage deals. Let's face it, that's what they're going to offer them. With what they're doing, and we talk about Tarasenko, which I think if he can stay healthy, I love the move. I think it's a needed move to put us into the Stanley Cup. That's my opinion. But there is a caveat if we sign all these guys, and we're signing Pelech, who we just signed, and we're signing Palmieri, and we're signing Zajac, probably, which is a minimum deal too. And we're bringing back Beauvillier and Sorokin, and I'm going through the list of Zizekas, and we make the deal for Tarasenko. We're probably now signing Zdeno Chara at $750K to fill out that other D spot. So we have a cap. We have to stay within the $81.5 million perimeters plus the $6 million. See, this is one thing about Boychuk's $6 million counts against the 81.5, and then you get to reuse it because it goes over for the LTIR.
Yeah.
All right. So in general, we have to fit all these pieces in money-wise is not necessarily an easy job to do. So from my standpoint, would you rather have the real quality number 4, second line pairing defenseman, left-handed pairing defenseman, say they were able to go out and get done, and they traded for done, but that price tag of $4 million keeps you from getting Tarasenko? Which would you rather have?
Well, here's the thing.
I'm gonna butt in because now we've got, if you talk about the long-term injury, we've got roughly about 18 million. It's like 17.9 million we can go over the cap. And the guys we've got to sign back are, your Pavilliers, your Casey Cizicases, your Sorokins. Man, oh man, what a bad deal by Shesterkin, which we'll talk about. A bad deal for the Rangers. I mean, like, even if you throw in guys like your Parises, your Andy Greens, your players who are going to be signing year vet minimums. I'm not sure Parise signing for vet minimum just because they gave him the option of a 1, a 2, or a 3-year deal. I'd have to assume he's getting something more than vet minimum, which we'll talk about. But I feel like you've got some flexibility. I don't imagine, Bavillier signing for more than 4, tops 4.5. And, when you're talking Sorokin, I know they wildly overpaid Shesterkin. I could not imagine Sorokin getting near Shesterkin's amount. You have to feel like we're going to have a little bit more space.
Well, how much space do we have right now? We got 11.9 and add on Boychuk 6, which you legally can't add on to the end of camp. LTR money cannot be added onto your cap until the end of camp, but we're allowed to be 10% over the cap.
So like
those are the rules. We're working with 17.9. That's what we're working with right now. And Pellick is signed. So add it up. If Pavillier is getting 4, if Sorokin's getting 3.5 to 4, if Palmieri's getting 4 to 4.5, like I'm hearing, right there, you're getting pretty close to the number, aren't you?
Right there, we're sitting at about 11.5.
12, yeah. But say Palmieri's 4.5 and Sorokin's 3. I would say times them all by 4, and you're at 12. And then you're adding on Parise's little money. You're adding on Zajak's little money and Cizikas' deal. And you're pretty much at your cap.
Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Our whole system is filled with 3rd and 4th line guys. We don't need to go out and re-sign Travis Zajac. We don't need to sign Zach Parise. We have guys in our system that we have to sign back that can fill those roles. They might not be 37, 38, 40, 50-year-old guys that Lou and Barry seem to like, but they can still fill in. And if you give them a chance to develop over the course of a season, maybe they'll surprise you, because I'm going to tell you what, Kiefer Bellows right now, I'd much rather have him than Zach Parise, because Zach Parise has zero upside. Where if they give this kid a shot, a real legitimate shot, which I know they want to do, I think he'd be just as good. I mean, 3 goals in 3 games. I'm sorry. You know what? You can teach a guy to play some defense. He'll be a little bit more responsible. But when you have such a short leash on a kid like that, he's always afraid of making a mistake, and that's when you make mistakes.
That part I agree with. When a kid knows he can't make a mistake, you're going to make a mistake. I agree with that, especially with a kid. But what I'm saying, when you're taking that point of what you said earlier, that we need to go for it right now. All right, if we're going for it right now, would I rather have the more responsible player in Parise on the 3rd line, or watch Kiefer Bellows go through his growing pains and make some mistakes that will cost us some games? That's a question. If we weren't going for it right now, then I totally agree with you that Bellows has to play every game. He has to grow. He has to learn. I still want him to get some action. I want him to still get his feet more wet with this team. I do. I want to see him get some activity. But when I'm going into the bigger games in the playoffs, I'm going to be more comfortable with Parise on the ice than an underdeveloped Bellows when I'm trying to win a cup.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If he plays 80 games, he's going to be developed by the time he gets to the end of the season. That's my point. It's the same reason they've been spoon-feeding Noah Dobson for years. Throw the kid into the fire. Let him make his mistakes during the regular season so he's ready to go full-time come the playoffs. I mean, I hear some people say, he's still a rookie. He's not a rookie. He's played over 100 games in this league. I mean, it's the fact that they won't, and I think they will this year, but their refusal, just absolute refusal, give the young kid some responsibility. It infuriates me, honestly. It really does.
Well, look, also, nothing grows a player like playing in the playoffs. That's a different animal for all players. And Noah Dobson just got a great experience, going all the way to the conference finals in Game 7. I think that helps his growth even more so than the regular season activity, because he played in such intense games. Now, we saw him struggle some games and play well some games in the playoffs, but I think that's going to go a long way towards his development this season. I throw Noah into the fire this season, too. It's got to be done. It has to be done.
Has to be done. Now,
and he's capable of playing 25 minutes a game.
Right. I mean, why not? I mean, I still think he needs a veteran presence with him. Yes. Chara can't do it anymore. I'm a dead set against Chara. He cannot skate anymore. He cannot play. I'm sorry.
I'll give you another guy that I actually like that I think fits this system and knows Lamoriello well. Sami Vatanen.
I was literally about to write his name down. I was about to say, pause real quickly. I know who you're going to bring up. It's Sami Vatanen.
He's not my first pick.
No, he's another freaking devil. I'm sick and tired. Don't bring any more of those losers over here. We have to have loser devils on this team.
This is play the power play.
This is not the Brooklyn Devils or the Long Island Devils or whatever the hell he wants to call it. Absolutely not. I'm sick and tired of bringing over the Devils, one of the worst teams in the league. Stop bringing those washed-up hacks over here.
Who's he playing with, Grump? Who are we filling that void in? Who's filling that void right now?
Well, I think this is the point Grumpy tried to make earlier. When you sit on your hands for so long to let your mastermind plan come through, you miss out on a guy like Ryan Murray who signs a 1-year, $2 million deal. Now you're trying to here's the thing. I think Ryan Murray has holes. He's a guy who, if you blow on him, might be injured. But you're trying to tell me $2 million for Ryan Murray is not something that we could have fit into the cap or to in the future. Yeah, but I mean, like that's what like if we were sitting on our hands to say we're trying to get this overarching scheme, this grandiose plan to bring in Tarasenko, and we've got to go ahead because we're so close because we're bringing in a Parise, we're bringing in this, we're bringing in that. We've got to have certain amount of cap space available, so we can't manage to spend $2 million right now or to throw that towards Ryan Murray. So we've got to wait.
But that's what happens when let's make sure we got that Travis Zajac contract in the bag. Let's make sure we got that Zach Parise contract in the bag. And then you're not filling holes because we're too busy stocking up on 13th, 14th forwards. I mean, like I said, to me, it's not the way I would do it. And, you said, if you were Lou Lamoriello, take off your hat for a second, Tommy, if you don't mind. You could be Lou Lamoriello. So don't say, you could be him. So
you could be Lou Lamoriello too.
And that's here's what I think happens when Tommy's in there cleaning, scooping out the trash. Lou is sitting there all delusional as usual, because he's got that early onset dementia. You know how old he is.
Stop.
I mean, 100,000 years old, and he just thinks, "Hey, I'm looking in the mirror." That's what he thinks.
And when I'm doing that, just so you know, the Hawaii 5-0 music is always playing when I'm doing that. When I'm sneaking out, just so you know.
Oh God,
Jack Lord.
Oh man.
Does TJ remember that?
No. I'm not talking about the remake. Okay,
I didn't watch the remake or the original, so I don't.
How did Jack Lord get his hair to look like that? The same every week with like the little over and like with little flying out the top. It was pretty cool. Always got their man, dude. Always.
That's true.
Let me tell you something. Back in the day, TJ, you never saw a criminal get away with a crime on a TV show. Never. They were always caught at the end. Dragnet, FBI, Hawaii 5-0, Barney Miller, everybody.
Starsky and Hutch.
Beretta.
Yeah.
Good shows, man.
Rockford Files. All of them.
I remember Huggy Bear.
Oh, even I
talk about a stereotype for a pimp. Huggy
that
Bear.
Wouldn't be allowed on TV today.
No, Antonio Vargas, that's who he was. That's Huggy Bear. And TJ Beretta, you think a Beretta is a gun. Well, do you want to know what he had a pet? Do you know what it was?
I don't know, and my interest in this is relatively low.
It was a parrot.
A pet parrot.
Yeah.
Could he fly around, or was he wings clipped?
He was you know what? I don't know. They didn't clip his wings on the show. He didn't fly away. I know that much. So maybe they were clipped, or maybe they had him on a chain. I don't know. But Robert Blake, who killed his girlfriend eventually. The whole thing. He was an ex-con, but somehow he was able to get on the police force. I didn't know that was even possible. But don't they usually check your background? I don't know. But somehow he was able to, and he became a detective. So it was pretty cool.
You're running out of breath 30 minutes in already, Grumpy.
He gave me a good idea, though. If you really want to find out what's going on with Lamoriello and what he's actually doing, if we can just sneak like a detective parakeet into his office and make him think it's his pet, and they repeat everything they hear, we could probably get some solid information out of Lou Lamoriello because nobody else gets it.
Yeah, this is what you hear. Because he's asleep at the switch.
No, I don't think that's the case. Want to talk again about, we mentioned, so he's not sleep at the switch. I'm going to change the narrative for you, Grump. Speaking about the deal that Pelech signed, Neil Ponick there, 4 years, $6 million AAV. It just speaks to, again, I think what an excellent sweetheart deal we got Adam Pelech on.
I heard it was a little bit less than 6. But here's the thing. I think it was 5.75,
Or
whatever
just
it was.
under 6, whatever it is.
Yeah, it just shows what a great deal the Pelech deal was. Fantastic.
Incredible. And as I commented on the show when this happened, it's not even just the beauty of that he got him basically at 5.8. It's the beauty that there's no signing bonus money in that contract. It's not upfront money where when the contract gets to the end, if Pelech say year 6, year 7, year 8 doesn't have it anymore, it's very easy to buy out. So you have a way out of that deal towards the end of the contract because there's no upfront signing money. It's a straight base year 1 through year 8. And by the way, if that was Garcelle signing that contract, he would have handed Pelech all his freaking money up front, and he would have been making $1 million base at the end of his contract. We would have had no way out of the deal. Andrew Ladd.
And one thing that, Neil Pionk does bring more offense to the table than Pelech does. But,
yes.
If you look at it, who would you rather have? I know I'd much rather have Adam Pelech. That's for certain.
There's a little irony in that signing, guys, in Neil Pionk signing. We all do know what team he came from and what trade sent him over to Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was from the Rangers.
Yep, the Trouba deal.
Yeah. And
who would you rather have right now, Neil Pionk or Trouba?
See, I like Jacob Trouba. I just think that he's mismanaged. I think if he was on our team, I think he'd be really good. Really good.
Yeah, probably you're right.
But he's not worth $8.5 million a year, though. That he's not.
And that's something we've seen as a reoccurring trend over and over again this offseason. I'm glad we haven't seen anything of that nature of a massive and wild overpay by the Islanders so far this offseason. We've had our overpays, trust me, in the past. So maybe this is us catching a little bit of a break, but you're seeing a lot of these players getting wildly overpaid this offseason.
I guess that's the wave of the future, right? Those guys want to get paid too. And think about it. You look at a forward, how many, even a really good forward, how many minutes a game do they play, right? Maybe 20. Where you look at a top line defenseman, like a Victor, that's like 25 can play 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Really, they're worth more. Particularly one who can put points on the board. And that's why like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Seth Jones, certainly not Zach Werenski. And I'm looking at the money that they're making. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm saying, you know what? Let's get Pulock re-signed now. That's what I want to do. Extend him now before you don't want to let him get to unrestricted free agency. You don't want him to test the market. Do it now.
Oh, right now I'm going, Ryan, here's your 6-year, $42 million extension. Congratulations. You got it. Just sign on the dotted line right now. That's what I'm doing.
Let me ask you this. What happens if he says, I'm seeing guys like Jacob Trouba getting $8.5 million. I think I'm going to score more than 2 goals in the regular season this year. I've been a guy who's been able to produce, whatever tries. I'm telling you, anytime in those type of contract negotiations, I'm promising you, he's got some sort of excuse as to reason why his numbers, offensive production wise, were off last year. Who the heck knows what they are? XYZ is the reason why. But he's going to say, I'm betting on myself, and I think I deserve 8. Somewhere around that neighborhood.
Did you guys notice something with the players that come to this team? I'm just going to say something to you. You see Jordan Eberle's interview? The guy's heartbroken. Absolutely heartbroken that he's no longer an Islander. That says something. A lot of these guys are given more bargain deals finally now. They don't want to leave here. They like that. They like the camaraderie in that locker room. They like the family-based team. They like that it's all for one, and now it's all for one, and it's not one for all. I think that plays with these guys, and you see when Pelech take a deal like that, and if the rumor of what I heard Cizikas' deal, you won't like the term, you're going to like the AAV. These guys want to stick around. As much as you might not like them signing Cizikas, you can't tell me he wouldn't have beat Barclay Goodrow's contract.
No, I didn't like Bart, but I liked Eric Howler's contract.
Yes, I like that contract. I agree.
I thought, to me, to me, that's the type of deal. I know everyone likes Casey Zizekas, but if you could get an Eric Haula who does the same things but just a little bit better, he's certainly more offensive. Maybe you lose a little bit of defense, but not a whole lot. But I mean, he would really fill that fourth line center role. 2.375 for 2 years. He's 30 years old. That's fine. Transition away from the older guys. Here's the thing. You want to know why all these guys like playing with the Islanders? Because they know they can get contracts into their 40s. I mean, you mentioned Pelech before, right? Oh, well, if Pelech, somehow he's not playing well, we can get rid of him or whatever. No, he's probably in for another big payday till he's like 42, 43. He's
no.
6 or 7 year deal.
You honestly think Lou's going to still be around here in 5-6 years?
No, I don't. Oh, well, I'm not even. I'm not going to say where he might be in 5-6 years, but probably not going to be here.
He's not going to be here in 5 or 6 years, guys. So I can't tell you who's going to take over, but whatever that is, we don't know how they handle their contracts. We can't foreshadow that.
I'm just going to say it better not be Fredo Lamoriello. That's what I don't want to see here as the new GM.
It'll be the Cuomo brothers.
I will say that
Fredo Lamoriello.
I do want to ask you a question. You talk about how guys are willing to take less. I would argue, and I'm going to pose this, I think the only player that has really taken a sweetheart deal for the Islanders as of recent, again, I don't know what the deals look like yet for the guys we've re-signed, so I might be eating my words, but as of right now, today, Pelech is probably the only one I'll say that's taken a real sweetheart deal. When I look at the other deals that we've re-signed players for, Jean-Gabriel Pageau, I love him to death. He's a third-line center who we're paying $5 million a year. I think he does a lot more than what a third-line center does. But, does Jean-Gabriel Pageau, that's certainly not a sweetheart deal. I don't think it is. The Leo Komarov deal that we signed earlier on, I mean, again, that was a while ago, but that certainly wasn't a sweetheart deal. But, I mean, Matt Martin, when he's...
Oh, you can't say it's different. They all add up.
Well, no, Matt Martin, right? The culture's here. We made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Matt Martin... I think he still serves a role, but for 4 years, $1.5 million. I know you could just say, "Hey, we're going to lump him down there in the A next year, or we can buy him out." It's not a big deal. But what's the point in the fascination with, hey, let's give a guy a 4-year contract as opposed to, yeah, you're 30 years old, you're kind of towards the tail end, you've been a bruiser your entire life, you've been mostly a fighter, you do more now. But let's look at a 2-year deal. I could not imagine the Rangers, who were hot on him, offering him more than a 2-year deal.
Here's the thing. You say Matt Martin, giving him that money. Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. They shouldn't even have to pay him to have the girls oogle over him. I mean, because that's all he's good for now is the girls say, "Oh, look at him. He's so pretty." They all love him. I mean, it's certainly not what he brings on the ice anymore. He's the $6 million man. Why? Because he signed a $6 million contract.
I made a joke about him, by the way. I said, if the rumors are true.
Are you allowed to make jokes about him? I didn't know if
I make plenty of jokes about these guys, but if the rumors are true that the Islanders might be bringing in Zdeno Chara, who is Matt Martin going to fight?
Yeah, he fought,
I don't know.
Twice last year, and both were against Chara.
Yeah, I think he had like 4 fights, but he seems to fight Chara every other fight.
You know what? Here's the thing. I like Zdeno Chara. I really, really do. He could have beat the daylights out of Matt Martin. He did not.
Oh, yeah.
He did not. But that said, I don't want, Muhammad Ali in his prime coming back to play defense for the Islanders either, because he can't skate either. So, I mean, that rules out Zdeno Chara. Why? But you know what you didn't mention, Tommy, and what obviously no one even considers, why not give one of the young defensemen a shot? Why not just throw on Sebastian Aho? Why not?
Okay. This was my idea personally, that if they don't have the money if they bring in Tarasenko to give Barzal, and I do think if Tarasenko is healthy, I think he is the perfect fit for Matt Barzal. He is a great one-time shooter. He will be on the off wing taking those passes from Barzal. I think he scores 40+. And by the way, people maybe not realize Tarasenko is a real leader. He is. He was a leader of that St. Louis Blues team. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. I just hope the shoulder's healthy enough to deal with it. But say we do that, and this was my idea, and it included Sebastian Aho, by the way, that if I had to sign Chara and I'm signing him at a cheap deal, or I'm signing Batman at a cheap deal, and I'm bringing one of these 2 guys in to try and keep them fresh, I might literally rotate those 3 defensemen between Green and either Vat and Aho, or Green and Chara and Aho, and rotate them in to keep them fresh. And sometimes they're all going to be playing on the second pairing, and I'm going to rotate them. This way, they stay fresh enough. They can handle the minutes, because we all know as a second pairing defense, you handle a lot more minutes than a third pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
So this way you keep them fresh. And honestly, there's points of that schedule. Anybody's seen that schedule? It's pretty screwed up because of the whole start 14 games on the road, and then they're playing 4 home games in 5 days and things like that. So you're going to have to find a way to keep these guys fresh. And I'm all for giving Aho some definite time.
Here's the thing, though, Tommy. You forget the great equalizer in this equation. It's battling Barry Trotz. His steadfast refusal to play anybody under the age of 50 on that defensive core. Sorry, not going to happen. If you give him an option to play Chara and Green, he's going to roll with that every single night. It would just be,
well,
you got to play Aho. No, I can't put him in. I can't.
That's not true, though. He's been here for 3 years. Trotz has been here for 3 years.
How many games did he play?
How old are Pulak and Pelech right now? And have they not been his top pairing for the past 3 years?
20.
They were basically when they were 23, 24.
Yeah, but Pulak was your number one defenseman when he got here. Pelech, he resisted right off the bat to play Lucas Spiza because it's just not in his genes to give young guys a shot. It just isn't. He'd much rather die with some old skank than he would roll out a young player. He just
you got Dobson, who's a 21-year-old kid now who he's rolling into this. So please don't tell me that you're using young defense.
Who's still after 2 years playing sheltered minutes, minutes.
I'm in between with the one player who I really love a lot, who I do want to see him develop a little more, but there's a piece of me that thinks this kid can handle it, and that's Bolduc. And I'm very high on Samuel Bolduc. I think he's going to be an excellent top 4 pairing D-man. And I watched him at camp last year, and I was immensely impressed with him. More impressed physically with him than Dobson, by the way. I thought Bolduc is filled out more. And
still built like a boy. He still has that boy build. He's still
Bolduc's built like a man. And I mean, the hard part is that you want to let a kid with 25 games of professional experience. You want to actually throw him into the fire and let him learn. It's a toughie, but I would say this about Bolduc. If he shows me a lot in the first third of the year at Bridgeport and we're struggling there, bring him up. Bring him up. Give it to him.
See, I'd much rather roll Aho out there, and you can incorporate Bolduc as well. If you're going to run that multi-defenseman system, I am all for that, but I just want the young guys playing. I don't want guys who are cashed. Let's be honest. Before Dobson had COVID, he was carrying Andy Green last year. He was absolutely carrying him. Big time. It was never the same when he came back. I thought he picked it up towards the tail end of the playoffs, but I think big things are in store for him. But Andy Green was cashed last year, and Zdeno Chara is like, okay, look at it. Boston did not want him back after his contract expired. Washington did not want him back. And whoever signs him next is not going to want him back either. He can't, as great as he was, he can't play anymore at the NHL level. I was astounded when I saw him play against us in Washington, how our guys just kind of walked around him. And he was just like, he was like a glacier out there. Could not make a move. I mean, I don't want that on this team. I
get it. My preference is Vatanen because he can skate. That is my preference. We're going to add another defenseman, guys. You know that, right? We're not, even if we say we're going to give Aho that second pairing role and we're going to let this kid roll and see what he can do, say that happens. We're still signing another defenseman. So, we got to bring somebody in. Now, look, to me, Green is still serviceable as 6 or 7, but no more than that. I mean, that's what Andy Green is. And he does bring something to the locker room as a former captain and leader. So there are things that there are attributes he brings to the team. He's still a pretty good penalty killer as well. But you can't play Green more than 18 minutes a game. That I'll say. And he's not going to bring any iota of offense. There is no offense left in that guy's body. None.
Well, then he perfectly fits in here. No offense? Great. Let's sign everybody. We don't care about scoring goals.
Look, I see the Hickey comments popping up, and I'm telling everybody, Hickey has played how many games in the last 3 years? He's had concussion. He's got a major concussion problem. And this is look, I have great respect for Thomas Hickey. He was one of the guys that wanted to stay here, who loves it here on Long Island. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. You cannot throw Thomas Hickey into a top 4 role in an 81-game season. It's not going to work.
And I want to hit on one quick point. This is an overarching concern that we might have later on. And again, I feel like we're going to kick this down the road, and we'll probably have to address it at the trade deadline. But you talk about it, right? We're going to be in a condensed schedule, 81 games this season. Andy Green's not going to have anything left in the tank by the time playoff come around. Neither would a guy like Zdeno Chara. Those type of players playing an 81-game season, those older players, I'm afraid they're going to have nothing left in the tank.
Zach Parise, Travis Zajac, all of them.
That's why I said you got to do a rotation. That's why I said it. You got to use Aho, and you got to rotate these guys in and out to keep them healthy.
I just don't think he has ever shown an inclination to play a young player if he has a veteran as an option. If he has a veteran option, he's going to go with that vet every single time. Oliver Wahlstrom in the playoffs couldn't score a goal, but we're going to roll that Travis Zajac out there. Doesn't matter that we got Oliver Wahlstrom kicking back, eating popcorn in the stands. Nope, don't need you. We don't care that you led the team in power play goals. Doesn't matter. We don't need that. We need Travis Zajac just in case we got to take a face off, with 5 minutes to go in the second period. This is the guy we want to put out there.
That's not why they did that, though. When Wahlstrom was playing and he got hurt, okay,
but he was healthy. They could have. Okay. Here's the thing: if a veteran had gotten hurt and Wahlstrom came in, as soon as that vet was healthy, Wahlstrom was back to the bench, and the vet's coming in. You know it, and I know.
Well, that's not totally true because he chose Wahlstrom over Zajac to start and play that Pittsburgh series. Zajac was on the bench, and Wahlstrom was playing.
He didn't even supposed to be on the roster. How the hell is he getting on the bench? He don't even supposed to be on the roster.
So, but he did when the playoffs began last season. It was Zajac who was the odd man out. Wahlstrom was out and played, and Wahlstrom played well in those 5 games against Pittsburgh. I think he played well. I think for a kid, he really showed that he belonged there in a playoff game. He was physical as heck. He was skating like an animal, and I love the game that Wahlstrom put up in that series. Now he hurt the knee, and then I think that's an unbelievably difficult decision in that Tampa Bay series. Now, when you get to game 2, game 3, Wahlstrom is now deemed healthy enough, and let me add this, healthy enough to play. That's not the same thing as saying he's 100%, obviously. But they said if they need him, he can go in now. Okay, so now you've had all this time off, and you're getting, to me, if you're going to put Wahlstrom in that series, it had to be earlier in the series. If you're going to make the move, you got to make it around game 3, game 4. Once you get to that game 6, game 7, you can't just all of a sudden dump him into that series in the last game or two when he hasn't played and expect him to perform against a freaking team like that.
I have a comment about healthy enough to play.
If you're healthy enough to play, go ahead, TJ. Go ahead.
Thanks, Grumpy. Everybody's injured. Everybody's hurt. We played Jean-Gabriel Pageau with a broken hand, broken wrist.
We did.
For 5 games. Again, he was also healthy enough to go out there. I mean, Oliver Wahlstrom was a guy in the regular season about averaged a point every other game, had 3 points in 5 games in the postseason. And the thing that we needed the most to beat Tampa, and again, we've been outscored by them by a substantial margin. We look at the 7-game stretch, was goal scoring. Again, 11 goals in 7 games. And that's one thing that Oliver Wahlstrom did bring to the table. I'm not going to hash it up too much or argue about it too much. I would have liked to see him in there. He's a guy that needs to be a fixture and a cornerstone in your team for future, though. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, no doubt. I wanted him put back in game 4. I stated it. But once they – and I disagreed with the decision. Once we were down 2-1, I said they got to make the maneuver. We're not scoring. Remember, we had 1 goal in game 3, which was that Clutterbuck lucky, goal that just kind of like jammed in. And I thought we played a pretty good game 3, but we weren't, this is a different goalie than we dealt with in the first 2 rounds too. I mean, we dealt with an all-world goalie in that round.
He was actually,
and I said, yeah, he's arguably the best. And I said, we got to get him in starting in game 4. Once we passed by game 4 and game 5 with him, I said, now you're putting in a rusty player. And the rust will show when you're playing the best team in the NHL. That was my feeling. You're going to see rust, and it's going to hurt us. I said, now we're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't.
My whole point is that if the shoe was on the other foot, Zajac would have, as soon as he was deemed healthy enough to play, he would be back in the lineup, and the young guy would be back on the bench. That's just the way Barry rolls. It just is. He wasn't good enough to play. He was not good enough to play. He was a throw-in, an absolute throw-in on that the F- deal that we brought in. A throw-in. And here's the thing.
The F-.
He wasn't even good enough. He wasn't even good enough to get in the lineup. Wallstrom gets hurt. He comes in. And then you hear Barry after, well, we were winning, so we didn't want to change things up. You know what? Best players play. That kid is better than Travis Zajac. I'm going to say at 80%, he's better than Travis Zajac.
And that's a fair statement to say he's better than Travis Zajac. He is a better player than Travis Zajac now at this stage of their careers, without a doubt. And probably when he's done, he'll put up much better numbers than Zajac ever put up.
I'm not going to sell Zajac short. He put up some pretty good numbers.
He was a solid player.
Yeah, 20 years ago. I mean, when he was scoring, I mean, he was pretty good back then. He just can't do it anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. But just our steadfast reliance on the old guys we just don't want to give, if he has any opportunity to play an older guy over a younger guy, he will. Just period. That's just the way he is. He's always been like that. Always been like that.
No, look, I'm not going to, Trotz is a guy who trusts guys with experience. I don't think there's any doubt that, he's done that all his career. It's not even dating back to the Capitals, dating back to Nashville. I mean, he believes in experience. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing to want to do when you're talking about winning crucial games. But I actually believe that the best teams that build championships and the best teams that actually build multiple championships are teams that are well balanced, well diverse. And I believe that in age too. You got to have a certain amount of veterans, a certain amount of middle-aged guys, a certain amount of young guys. It's a mesh to me that you got to put together on a team that helps make a team win.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But the hardest thing to get is talent. That's the hard. You can backfill with veterans, grit guys. They're easy to get. They're easy to get. The talented guys, that's what we lack. And it's like, dude, stop bringing in these old fourth liner types. We don't need any more of those. They're a dime a dozen. Roll out the young kids. Show me what you have, because the future is going to be here before you know it. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? We keep Bolduc in the minors till he's 25, 26, and they'll be 1 year. Now he's an unrestricted free agent. That just seems like that's just the way they go. It just frustrates me, because I'd much rather see the younger guys who have some upside as opposed to these old guys that are flatlining talent-wise.
We'll see Bolduc and Salo before then. I promise you that. We will. I'm just telling you, we will see those two guys in the next couple of years.
What drives me insane about your comments, Grump, is you talk one moment about how we need to be a team that's focused on the win now window.
I said, no. I said, if you're all in to win, that's what you need to do.
You have to figure we're all in to win, right?
But here's the thing. I think the younger players bring more than a Sammy Vatanen or a Travis Zajac or a Zach Parise. I just think the younger guys they can bring more to the table at the end of the day. If you give them a legitimate shot during the season, let them work through their kinks. The only thing that matters is that you make the playoffs. That's all that matters. And then if you have your team, well, gosh, Travis Zajac was this level and Kiefer Bellows was this level, but at the end of the year, Kiefer Bellows here. Well, what would you rather have? A Kiefer Bellows up here at the end of the year, or a Travis Zajac down, and a Zach Parise down here? That's my whole thing.
I don't disagree with that, but the biggest thing is you talked about how we need to go ahead and integrate some of the younger guys in. We can't go ahead and move XYZ away. We got to keep the younger guys. If we're truly in it to win it now, unfortunately, you're going to have to sacrifice some of those players' development, perhaps. I'm not a fan of playing aged players, especially if they're well on the downside. But if you have to make moves and we have to give up picks, we've got to give up prospects, et cetera, in order to get a piece that really could go ahead and put us over the top. We've got to do it, in my opinion.
Then stop overpaying for the Kyle Palmieris of the world. You don't need to give first and fourth round picks and 2 prospects for a Kyle Palmieri. All I am saying,
they did what they had to do.
Give the young guys a chance.
They did what they had to do with that trade. That trade never happens if Anders Lee doesn't get hurt. They made the trade because they lost a key first-line player, and that also gave them cap space they didn't have. They wouldn't have been making any trades. They had very little cap space. You would have gotten your Braden Coburn trade. That's what you would have gotten at the deadline. You would have gotten nothing else, and maybe they would have gotten Zajac to play the third line or something. But you weren't getting any big player or any solid player coming in here. because they would have had no money. I mean, that's we would not have given up that first round pick. We would have had it and used it. Now, thank God, you know, as I watched that draft, and that was the day that me and Andrew were going to a wedding, so I had to really maneuver to be able to watch parts of the draft around that thing. Yes, I know, bro. Yes, you can say that. And I'm sitting there, literally praying that we're getting Ratham. I'm sitting there going, as I'm watching him fall, I'm going. I felt the exact same thing I felt when I watched the Matt Barzal draft that time. When I was watching Barzal fall down that board, and I was like, just let this player fall. And I was like, there's my first round pick because I just got a first round pick. And we didn't lose our first round pick because that kid should have gone top 20, no doubt. And honestly, if he hadn't fallen off last season, he would have gone top 10. So I think we lucked out big time. And at least he was smart enough to realize that somebody just handed him a giant Christmas present. Now, I don't want to trade my first round pick in 2022. I don't. I've told people that I want to win the cup right now and I want to go for it, but you can't keep giving away all these draft picks constantly. You've got to pack the cupboard some. So I don't want to trade this pick.
We lost our first round pick in 2019 when we drafted Casper Holmstrom. That was a loss.
I knew that was coming up.
As always, tried and true.
We would have drafted one of the three amigos.
I want to talk about, I still think we would have made a deal for Kyle Palmieri, even if we had an Andrews Lee at the end of the year. The reason being, again, so, I mean, they were chain cap. We wound up taking on 2.3 roughly from Palmieri. And, you know, the Devils are not up against the cap. If we really needed to get a deal done like that, you could have had him take a guy like Hickey back. The price would have been more expensive. But to bring in Kyle Palmieri as a replacement for Andrews Lee, but never really utilize him on a first line role was always something that left me scratching my head because it made absolutely no sense to me. Again, I'm on at practice, but logistics wise, it makes very little sense to me.
Well, look, I was expecting Palmieri to go right into his role too. That's what I thought they were making the trade for. They ended up putting together a very good third line. We talked about what they ended up doing with it.
Best third line in hockey.
Yeah, best third line in hockey. We ended up doing that and going that route. I was never for Komarov on the first line, and I like Alexander Komarov, but that's not the player that he is. If I had told you guys during we had those talks that I would have put Pajot on that line and let Pajot take the faceoffs because Pajot can shoot. Pajot's got a good shot.
You know what? I guess for me, I always that logic. Well, he needs to have somebody who can take faceoffs on the first line. I could care less if he wins or loses a faceoff.
No, you can't. You can't. It matters.
Okay, but here's the thing: even if he wins 30% of his faceoffs, 35%. Komarov is only winning 45%. What's the difference? I'd much rather have somebody who actually has talent on the first line.
Well, in fairness to that point, that Komarov is not some great face-off guy either. He's not, but Pajot is.
They were never taking him off that third line. Though. Never.
I would, because Zajac is a great face-off guy. I could have lived with Zajac center in that third line. I would have been okay with that. And letting him play good center defense, win his draws, and giving Barzal a guy that, by the way, loves to play in the playoffs and loves to score in the playoffs because Pajot is a playoff performer. Barring him, breaking his hand, that guy produces.
That injury was big.
It was huge. It cost us in the end. That's the difference to me in beating Tampa Bay was not having Pajot. You're telling me Pajot? You're telling me Pajot wouldn't have produced offense?
Not 10 goals. No.
It wasn't 10 goals. Other than one game, we lost one game 8-0. The other games were all one goal.
I swear, Tampa Bay toyed with us. I feel like they toyed with us. Anytime they wanted to turn it on, they knew we had. All they did was Matt Barzal, you're not going to beat us. Let one of the other circle jerks try to beat us. We were not able to do it. They openly admitted that through the last 2 years that we have by far been their toughest matchup. Well, they said that Florida was the toughest team they played last postseason. To a man, Florida. The other games are tough. We play a tough style. I don't think they were concerned at all. The coach wasn't concerned, even if they lost the first game.
Playing with his suit, screwing around. I mean, we talked about it. I'm like, that does not look like a coach who gives two shits that he lost game one at home to the out. It made no sense to me. And again, he turned out to be right, but that blew me away. And over here, hey, he's being asked questions. He's adjusting his suit. Hey, he's making sure his tie looks good. Hey, my button's lined up. How's the lapel look? I'm like, what is this?
The only thing he didn't say was, "It's the Islanders." That's all he didn't say. It's the Islanders. Are they going to outscore us? And I always say after the fourth game was 2-2, Stamkos wakes up, and he calls Kucherov. He's like, and he calls Hedman and Vasilevsky, and he says, "Guys, do you realize this series is 2-2? Like, really? I guess we better wake up today, 8-0." And then,
and it was one game that by the way, I mean, that game just went downhill fast. They scored 3 goals where they got every bounce in the book on the first 3 goals, and then it was just downhill. You're not coming back against them. Yeah. No, they're a better team than us. I personally, my approach would have been a little different. And I look back at a series like 1978 Toronto Islanders, and Toronto had no business being on the ice.
You are not allowed to go back and relive that series. That was the worst series.
I'm bringing up I know that, but I'm bringing up the point of what they did to us. They were nowhere near as good as us, and what they did was they dirtied it up so bad. You remember how dirty that series was? How disgusting! Remember that cheap shot on Mike Bossy, one of the worst cheap shots.
I remember. It was the worst. It was the lowest I've ever been as an Islander fan, was losing to Toronto that year. Even worse than losing to the Rangers the next year.
I agree. Actually, I agree.
I could not believe that we lost, and that Lanny McDonald scoring in overtime in Game 7. Worst. The worst.
We needed to do that against Tampa Bay. As hard as we played against them, we needed to dirty that up so badly. To me, that it would have. I'm just telling you, it would have made these guys be looking over their heads constantly.
It would have worked 2 years ago when they picked up the guys they got last year's trade deadline. That gave Tampa Bay the ability to play any type of style where you couldn't goon it up against them because they had guys who could do it also. And that was the metamorphosis for me of Tampa Bay. It was. They remind me of the team of the Islanders in the early 80s. Free agency is obviously already broken them apart. But if they could have kept that team together, they would have won a lot of cups in a row. But that's what what salary cap and free agency does nowadays. You can't keep great teams like that together for years, and you just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, they got, of all the teams, they got hammered this free agency worse than anybody. But I mean, they were able to avoid it last year. They did a good. That whole Kucherov thing is what did it for them. They were able to say, all right, you're out for the year with this hip injury, which he should have been back before the end of the year, by the way. But they did it. They got away with it, and they were able to take that money. Okay, this year, I mean, look what they lost. They lost Gord. They lost Goodrow. They lost Savard. They lost Coleman. Okay, and they lost another one, too. They lost Johnson. They lost out. And I do like them bringing in Perry, by the way. I thought that was a good guy to bring in.
I think that's a great move for them.
Yeah,
$1 million a year for a guy like that.
Yeah,
I mean, but then you look at they do lose those guys, but you look at some of the other teams in our division that I'm concerned about. I mean, Tampa Bay. I don't think they're repeating next year. I really don't. But I think watch out for Carolina in our division. They give us trouble. Even though they made some questionable moves this offseason, but man. They play a style, and I also hear Tarasenko, Carolina might be a destination for him.
Yeah, I'm going to start jumping in some comments, by the way.
Okay,
but Brandon Gaines, he posted this all the way at the beginning. Want to give him some credit there. He said, if Carolina trades Nino Niederreiter or Pesci there for Tarasenko, you tip your cap to Armstrong for that return.
But Carolina's in it to win it, right? I mean, but here's the thing. They're young. Most of their roster is very, very young.
I did not get the Carolina trade for Bernier, though. I didn't. I left scratching my head.
Well, they figure Anderson's going to be their starter next year. I don't know if that's rolling the dice on that, but obviously they knew something about the kid with the N name, who they moved out.
Can I say something about that post? If Carolina lets go of Pesci after losing Hamilton, they have created a big hole on their back line that they will not survive.
They brought in a whole bunch of other defensemen nowhere near as good as Hamilton. I don't think they're moving Pesci. I don't think so. It's going to be a forward for a forward.
Yeah, you can't move Pesci, right? You cannot move that guy right now.
Yeah, no, he's not getting moved. He's not getting moved.
Nedeljkovic. I'm guaranteed I mispronounced it, but we're getting super comments here.
Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic. There it is. Taco Fall there says, "Hey Grump, TJ, how's your day going? Hope all's well, and let's go Islanders."
Taco.
David B said, "TJ, grumpy old man, and Coach Tommy B together again." For certain it is. Tip your cap. Jason C said, "Started watching a few weeks ago. Grumpy is great. A wizard of hockey knowledge."
Jason Cameron, he's my man. Gotta love him.
See, Grump, there we go. I make sure to
TJ,
share the good ones where you get
Let me
paid.
tell you something, everybody. TJ, he likes to bring his little minions, his little buddies on. The grumpy old man's not allowed to invite anybody on the show. Never. No. It's all has to be TJ's little pals.
But you've got Kim coming on for you.
Yeah, there you go, Grump.
Yeah, but she's not coming on for me. Come on, let's be honest, right? All right,
good. Alexander also saying, "Good evening, TJ, grumpy old man. Hope you guys are doing well. And here, same to see you guys. Oh, on here, same to you guys.
Go
Thank
Tom
you.
Brady. Go Buccaneers.
Oh, goodness gracious. I will tell you now. Jay Rich is in here trolling.
Jay Rich is a freaking troll. Jay Rich is a troll. He's trolling, absolutely trolls. Because
saying Lou Lamoriello sucks.
When I'm talking, he'll always take the other side. Always. So that's just the way Jay is. But I'm cool with Jay. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness. Frank K saying the Geezer Squad, Metamucil, and indifferent endorsements.
That's Frank. He's got the best hair in the business.
Oh man,
he does. But I want you to know he spent his entire summer down in Florida hanging out with geezers. I just wanted you to know that.
Oh man, so
well, he would know that. He would know.
Alexander also saying Elias Pettersson could be on the move. I think
he's not coming here.
No way.
Yeah, no way is right.
No restricted free agents move. They never move.
On the show, honey.
Jerry B saying Bailey is going to Arizona with draft picks, and we're getting Phil Kessel. I can feel it in my bones.
No,
well, he does fit the age criteria that we're looking for. That's all I'll say.
I
don't think that's the case.
We're trading Bailey with draft picks to get Kessel. I'll bet you on that one. That's not happening. Arizona would have to give us draft picks to take Kessel.
Yeah, I don't see that happening either.
Jay Wrench also saying we need to upgrade our defenseman there over Letty more than anything.
See, I disagree with that. I feel with the system that we play, we can slide another defenseman in there and get the same results. We can't score. You can't win every game 2-1, 1-0. It's a grind. We need to have somebody. Hey, wouldn't you love to win a game every once in a while? 5-0, 5-1. Wouldn't you just love that? I would.
This is not going to say something to Islander fans about the Letty thing because every Islander fan wanted him gone, and now they're crying. They're crying over him not being here. Look, I have a lot of respect for Letty, and I've said this before. Him and Boychuk trade was a trade that actually turned this organization around. And it was needed when it happened to bring those two guys in. But I will honestly tell you all this, that the worst player on our team in the playoffs last year was Nick Letty. He was atrocious. And not for nothing, how great has our power play been with him running it?
He won't shoot the puck.
Look, it's not as big a loss as everybody thinks. It's not that big of a loss.
No, it's not. He plays a lot of minutes.
Well,
that's about it. He's on the ice.
Let me ask you this too: why was the move last offseason? How could we not see the writing on the wall that Nick Letty should have been on the way out, and we didn't?
We all saw that.
I did.
Saw it too.
But we determined it wasn't. No way we're moving Nick Letty. No way. He was the second best player on the team by a country mile in the playoffs. You listen to Barry Trotz. No, Devon Taves is the guy we should have kept at $4 million. You wouldn't be having those issues today. You wouldn't move that piece of garbage. He's gone now. Thank goodness, gone. One less guy I have to rip every week. Just means more hatred for Josh Bailey.
You'll find somebody else. If I know you, Grumpy, you'll find somebody else to divert the hatred to. I do have a question. Now, I think Nick Letty, I'm happy he's gone. I wish him nothing but luck in Detroit. I knew I had a feeling he was going to Detroit. I thought it was a perfect. What are you doing that for?
What are you doing kissing up? Then you're the guy who hated him the most. Lazy Letty.
He is Letty. I want to pose a different question. I want to, again, because the show, there's no mental obesity here on this show, Grump. We've got a lot of questions, and we always do. Well, here's a serious question. Is it like the high school boy who breaks up with a girl because he knows all the imperfections, he wants to try something new? Is that what we saw in Nick Leddy? Nick Leddy still served, he's a top 4 defenseman anywhere in the league. Did we go ahead as fans? Do we want him gone because we know all of his imperfections? We know everything that pisses us off about Nick Leddy in his play.
No, here's the thing. Everyone sees Nick Leddy go, and they know we're not going to promote from within. So if we don't fill that from somewhere on the outside, it's like we don't have a defenseman. We don't have a top 4 defenseman. And that's what happens when the mentality is we don't play young guys. We only want to get old guys. Ryan Murray would have been, I think, perfect for a year or two. Perfect with Noah Dobson. He's defensively responsible.
If he stayed healthy.
Yes. And you know what? But here's the thing. At some point in time, I'm willing to roll a dice with a guy like that. I'm willing to. We need to improve. It's not stay the same every year, because stay the same is not winning a Stanley Cup, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, I have no problem. I was fine. I thought Ryan Murray would have been a solid fit. Personally, I did. We'll see what they're going to end up doing. But I know there's one you disagree with me about. I also felt that if we went to Chicago and we said, okay, because they're over the cap too. And I said, here you go. You guys need to get under that cap, and here's Hickey. You give us DeHaan. The money works, and I can live with DeHaan for 1 year.
DeHaan makes $4 million a year.
Yeah, and Hickey makes 2.5.
Again,
so,
I don't want. Here's the thing. Talk about a guy who's hurt all the time. Calvin.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Now you know about a guy with shoulder injuries. Does he even have a right shoulder anymore? I don't think he does. It's like this.
He's got that bionic shoulder.
I got it. We trade for DeHaan and Tarasenko, and we make 2 shoulders.
There you go.
There it is. We make one complete player.
Hook up the Frankenstein machine, and there you go.
Robin Stewart saying, I told you that Tarasenko has something more serious than the Blues are letting on. Too many teams have passed on him.
I think that has a lot to do with the salary cap number as well. Not many teams can afford $7.5 million on top of what they have. They can't. And seriously, if you don't have an issue with offense, you look at who got paid the most this year. It was defenders. It wasn't
crazy.
It wasn't all the big contracts went for defenders.
Crazy.
Think about it. All of them. Those were all the. I could not believe that Dougie Hamilton got $9 million a year. Oh, here's another one.
I wanted to show the Shesterkin one. We know we would alluded that we would talk here about it, but man, oh man, 4 years, $5.65 million there for Shesterkin. You figure they bought out 2 years of restricted free agency as well, which is worth mentioning. So man, oh man, did he really get paid? I could not envision Sorokin getting paid near that. I'd be baffled if he was.
Baffled.
Okay.
Sorokin won't get that much.
No, he won't. And by the way, Sorokin's not a number 1 goalie yet, so you can't compare this contract with Sorokin when Sorokin's still legitimately the backup for at least another year. So fans got crazy over seeing this deal, which I think is a big overpay. But if you want to complain, any Islander fan out there, you want to complain about Lou, go to Manhattan and go talk to Drury and Dolan and look at what they're doing, and you won't be complaining about anything, because those contracts they're handing out are flat out nuts. Nuts.
Here's something that I'm concerned about with Sorokin. He's 26 years old now, right?
Gonna be, yes.
So when he hits 27, he can be an unrestricted free agent at the age of 27. How many years do you want to give Sorokin on this next deal? And might you have to overpay, because he's 1 year away from unrestricted free agency? 1 year away.
No, actually, he's 2 this year and next year.
Okay.
We have 2 more years of RFA control over Sorokin starting this year.
So how many years do you give him?
Look, I'm going to give him 3 or 4 in all likelihood. He's not. We're not going to let him be a UFA instantly. They're not going. That's not how the deal's working out. The things I've heard about the contract is that it was likely a 4-year deal for him. It's not at this type of money. It's less. And Sorokin, please remember this part. Sorokin has 2 kind of like really important things to him. A, he likes playing in this system, which what goalie wouldn't? Okay, and it helps him perform and make his better numbers. So when he does finally get his one big deal at like 29 or 30, he wants his numbers to shine so he can get his $7-8 million a year as a goalie. The other part is his competition with this guy, Shesterkin, who is playing what, 40 miles away from him? They have a legitimate head-to-head competition. He wants to stay here and be better than him.
But he's not going to be happy making significantly less. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not. Now, here's the thing. You mentioned about goaltenders want to be a system. That's true. I'm thinking about becoming a goaltender, and I could probably start for the Islanders, and my goals against would probably be 2.3.
I want to ask you. You said that next year, and again, I want to make sure I don't mischaracterize you. You said that Sorokin is the backup, clear backup next season. I mean, you feel
he's not a typical backup.
I probably might be mischaracterizing, but you feel that Sorokin's going to be the backup next season.
He is the 1B. Okay, Varlamov's going to play more games than Sorokin. And barring something crazy, Varlamov's going to be the guy they go to in the playoffs next year. But and I think Varlamov gets traded after next year. That's a prediction.
He should.
Okay, they will then, after 2 years of tutelage under Varlamov, Sorokin will become the main man, and they will dump Varlamov's $5 million. And somebody needs a starting goalie. We'll take Varlamov. It won't be a hard trade, but 1 year left. That's a pretty easy trade to accomplish. This is his other learning year, and I think you're looking at 35 games. That's what I think you're looking at for Sorokin. They're going to probably target about 35, maybe a couple extra. But Varlamov is going to be the primary goalie, not in a typical primary goalie situation where one guy plays 55 and the other guy plays 27, 28. But he's still a backup goalie. That's the mindset.
Yeah, for me, we should be transitioning away from Varlamov now. To me, next year should be a 50-50 split with, by the end of the year, Sorokin's the starter going into the playoffs. Sorokin is a better goalie than Varlamov is. Varlamov's solid. He's solid, and he's good in that system. But for me, I'd much rather play the guy who's better, and Sorokin is better. And playing that system, think about how much better he's going to be next year after another year of coaching with these guys.
You don't have to sell me on Sorokin. I've been selling him to Islander fans for 5 years.
You're just like TJ. So, again, you and TJ probably been in cahoots because he was calling the white whale for years.
I called him the Russian wolf from the day I first saw him come and play over at Northwell. I said, this guy has it. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 goalies in the NHL within his 3rd or 4th year in the league. I think he will be better than Shesterkin. I like Shesterkin. I think he's a good goalie. I don't think Shesterkin's a top 5. I think Sorokin will be a top 5. I have never seen that type of quickness and flexibility out of a goaltender in my lifetime watching hockey.
I tell you what, the Russians can really turn out goalies recently.
Yeah. Wow.
You think about most of the best goalies in the league are Russian now. They are.
I got another question here from Scott L saying, do you guys think there's a sleeper type of scorer other than Tarasenko Lou has in the weeds?
Yeah, Joe Montedots, because, man, he's really scoring with those women every weekend at the Boardy Barn.
Now, have you seen anything? Have you seen anything in the trash can, Coach Tommy B, that would lead you to perhaps?
Hold on, let me look.
No, it's probably just a blank sheet of paper, like most of Lou's moves. Nothing.
Oh no, I think he blew his nose in this one. I'm sorry.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. Nothing.
Man, I could not imagine us being. I couldn't imagine us being too in on Johnny Gaudreau. I feel like that's a name that a lot of people are throwing out there. If we don't have Tarasenko, and let's say hypothetically we lose out on Tarasenko, which I would be shocked. I'm not sure there is a comparable plan B.
Johnny Gaudreau. Let's talk about Johnny Gaudreau for 2 seconds. Let's just say, we know Calgary would be willing to trade him, by the way. We know that, by the way. Calgary is more than willing to trade Gaudreau. Yeah. Do you want to trade for Gaudreau with 1 year left on his deal? That's number one, because he's going to cost a lot. He's going to cost your first-round pick. He's going to cost Bellows. He's going to cost at least one of those top defensemen down there and something else. So you're going to pay for Gaudreau. So, you got to make sure you sign him. You can't make this trade without signing Gaudreau long-term, and how much money does this guy want? So there's a lot of variables to even making that deal possible. All right, there's so many variables that I don't think it can happen.
It's not, and everyone says he's going to Philadelphia after next year. That's where he wants to end up, is Philadelphia. So to me, you don't go for a guy like that. I think Tarasenko just perfect. He's got 2 years left on his deal. You know what he's going to get. You work around that. And, if he is scoring 30 or 40 goals a season, okay, we'll talk about a contract extension, not a Kyle Palmieri 5, 6, 7, 8-year deal that I'm sure we're offering him, but, a reasonable deal.
No, if Tarasenko's healthy, that's the guy I want. And if he's healthy, also, he's a guy of good fortitude. He's got good character, and if he comes here, I think he'd love it here, and I think he'd actually want to stay. So I'm actually comfortable bringing him. Johnny Gaudreau's a wild card kid, man. I wouldn't trust that kid. He's a little bit of a nutty player, and you're going to put him with Trotz and Lou. That's not good. That's going to cause problems.
No, he doesn't play pinochle either, so that rules him
Yeah.
out. But the only guy I really want from Calgary, I'd love Matt Tkachuk on his team.
I love him.
Who wouldn't? He'd fit on any team, honestly.
Yeah,
For certain. I got a
He would
few.
be-
I have a few pictures I want to show you, Grumpy. Oh, I showed the wrong one first. I have a few pictures I want to show you, made by Jerry Springer, former mayor of Cincinnati. Oh my God, I did it again. Former mayor of Cincinnati. Made a few images, Grumpy old man, after some items you had brought up. Talking about Shampoo Lou. He made a Godfather themed because you do love the Godfather.
Marta, yeah.
At Lou Marta, and then Shampoo Lou and the geriatric gang. How much will he be willing to let go? A silent film, because he doesn't do anything. You catch it? And it just got signing everybody back. Adam Pelech, Casey Zizekas, either Sorokin, Anthony Beauvillier, Travis, the 37-year-old Zajac, Zach, can't skate anymore, Parise, Kyle Palmieri, and more guys in their 30s.
You know what? It's so accurate. And that's what makes it funny, right? Because everything that's really funny has some basis in truth.
They say every joke has a small revelation of truth in it.
To me, the thing I like the best where it says a silent film. That's perfect. That's been the whole offseason, hasn't it? A silent film. Here's the thing. If Pelech's arbitration hearing was at the end of this month, he wouldn't have been signed yet. It was only he had to because the arbitration thing was coming up.
that's true.
You know what I don't want to see, Tommy? Here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see Lou think I'm going to outsmart St. Louis. I'm smarter than they are. I'm the great Lou Lamoriello. I was a great general manager. I was a great general manager 25 years ago. I know I'm not anymore, but I'm still smart. I'm smart, not dumb like they say, and I deserve respect. And so maybe he's thinking that perhaps he can outsmart them. And I don't want to see somebody like the Rangers come in and just slide under the table and pick up a Tarasenko, and we're sitting there with the schmenzers in our hand because he was afraid to make a move. That's what I don't want to see.
I mean, you have to worry about that. I mean, look, I think most people know the Rangers are all over Eichel. That's who they're trying to get. That Tarasenko right now is an afterthought for the Rangers, and that's out there from basically everybody who's got any type of insight. They say that that's what the Rangers are trying to do. Okay. My point earlier, we had a little, talk before the show started, and I had said to you that I do believe that Lou is browbeating St. Louis to the point that as he probably feels that the closer and closer we get to camp, the price is going to drop and drop and drop. As they lose options, as teams keep spending money, and there's more cap space lost, that St. Louis is going to pretty much have no choice but to hand them away. And I've always thought that the way this deal honestly works is Bailey and Hickey for Tarasenko, the money matches.
Yeah.
That's the money. That's the 7.5 and 7.5, right? It matches totally even. And that's the deal that I thought would end up happening here. And then we find somebody to take Komarov, and we got to throw a little kicker in there to get rid of his $3 million, and we're good to go. That's where our defenseman money comes in.
Maybe when you're, doing your next cleanup duty, you could take a little piece of paper, slip a little memo on top of his desk, and just let him know that the season does not start in December this year. It starts, in October or September is when the preseason starts. So you might want to let the old man know that perhaps we need to get on the stick just a little bit.
As I said, he has everything pretty much done except for the one key thing he's trying to accomplish. I mean, look, if you guys actually think he signed Adam Pelech that day,
no, everybody.
He was signed weeks ago.
That's why I thought. I'm serious. I thought that Murray was signed. I really thought he was signed when I saw everybody else go and Murray was still on the board. I'm like, that's a guy that we've signed. I said,
I
that's going
thought
to be a defense option. I really thought that was
I definitely thought it could have been Murray too. I was one saying, but I'm looking at certain guys and I'm going, and the three guys that were in my head were Murray, Botman, and Chara. I'm going, those are the three guys that to me that would make sense for him to sign, even if you don't like Chara. I'm just talking about thinking about what he'd be looking at. And those guys are not off the board and what they're going to cost. Because I felt Murray would cost the most. I felt Chara is a $750 guy and Vatman's probably $1 million at best. That when I looked at the three guys and what their contracts would be.
But
So
think about it. We're looking to fill a top 4 defense spot with a bargain basement guy. I mean, right? That's what we're looking for.
We are, but is it really that much of a downgrade? I mean, I want Islander fans to seriously tell me what you watched Letty do after the first 30 games of the season.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you could easily slot Aho in there to play with, to me, with Mayfield. I think that would be a really good mix. And you rotate. Maybe your second and your third pairings split minutes. Maybe you're not going to see your second pairing get 20 minutes and the third one get 15 or 14. So maybe they both get 18 or 17. And that maybe is a way that you can balance that out. I would just I'd roll the dice with a guy who's been in the system for a lot of years. I don't think Aho's ever looked out of place when he's been here.
This is what I'll say about Aho. I mean, obviously he's got offensive upside compared to a lot of the other defensemen. He definitely does. He can definitely contribute to a power play. There's no doubt. And I do have to worry about his size and what he's going to deal with defensively. I mean, you can't deny that he's one of the smallest defensemen out there. So you do have to worry about. I couldn't play Aho in 81 games in an NHL grind. I can't see him being able to do it with that body size. And I know Hickey was able to do it for many years, so he's an example of somebody that was able to do it. But I was going to get beat up in this division. I think there's got to be a rotation. Our seventh defenseman is going to play a very important role this year, and he's going to have to play some time.
But then you have some other younger depth guys that you could slide in there. That's my point. I'd much rather roll the dice with the younger guys. And here's the thing. Yes, we might get – the whole thing for me is getting Tarasenko. That's the whole thing for me. The whole offseason is predicated on getting him. We need to score more goals, period. It's been for 3 years. It's the same thing. They know we need more goals, and nothing ever happens, right? So as far as I'm concerned, yes, okay, maybe we'll give up a few more goals. But if we increase our firepower, I just think it benefits us in the long run. And if you use some of the younger guys, break them in gradually, a Bolduc, a Aho, maybe a Robin Salo even could fill in for a little bit. You break all those guys in a little bit, they're not playing the whole season. I would just rather roll with younger guys with upside as opposed to older guys who don't have it anymore. That's all.
Here's something too about Sebastian Aho, right? People forget he's 25 years old. He was a 3-time AHL All-Star. That guy, if his time is not this year, I know he's on a one-way contract. If his time is not this year, there never will be. So that's also something to take in consideration. He's no spring chicken. He's 25 years old. Size-wise, yeah, sure, he's a smaller defenseman. They got him listed at 5'10". I wouldn't be shocked if he's 5'9.5" or 5'9" and change. I've seen him out there on the ice. I'm not sure he's 5'10".
But I mean, I just think he would work well with Mayfield. I think that I thought Mayfield was outstanding in the playoffs. I thought he was the best he's ever played. And I've always been a honk for Scott Mayfield, without a doubt. And he took his game to another level, I thought. And what's the one thing that he needs, though? And the thing that he didn't have in Letty, someone who he could depend on getting the puck out of the zone. That's not everyone says how great Nick Letty was moving the puck. I'm sorry. I never thought he was that great. I thought he was a good defenseman, but I never thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread or a Lou bologna sandwich. I never thought that.
Honestly, his best season was his first season. And all the years I watched him, he played here 7 years. His first year here was by far his best. After that, I thought he was inconsistent from year to year. He had some good seasons, had some bad seasons. I thought last year was a microcosm of his New York Islanders career. His first 30, 35 games, I'm like, look at how this guy's playing. This is big. And then all of a sudden, he just fell off a cliff, and he stunk pretty much every game, but a sparing game here and there. Again, to me, this isn't anywhere near the loss, and I think the Islanders realized that. That's why they were willing to make the trade to get rid of his money. And we do have a lot of good young defensemen in the system. We really do. That's one area we're stacked. We got some good young defensemen. you know what? If they have to utilize it that way and roll the dice a little bit, then roll the dice. I mean, when you have an 81.5 cap, there is a little bit of Vegas going on. You gotta play a little Vegas, and you gotta take some risk.
Yep. Go ahead, TJ.
Got an important question here from Frank D saying, ask Tommy B if he found the Mitch Marner offer sheet from last year in Lou Lamoriello's takeout order from the Blue Line Deli written on an Islanders letterhead in the trash. Very specific. It sounds like he might have some inside information that you might have led him on to there, Tommy.
Well, Frank, it's a great post. And I know Frank. He's a good guy. Actually, I've actually met him at a game at the Coliseum. He's a funny guy, good guy to hang out with. However, I have to disappoint you and tell you that the Islanders did never make an offer sheet to Mitch Marner. It never did happen. And the offer sheet myth, as I call it, the offer sheet myth, everybody panics every year. They're going to offer sheet Pellick. They're going to offer sheet Sorokin. Teams don't like to give offer sheets for 3 particular reasons. One, you have to overpay on an offer sheet. There's no other way to win an offer sheet. Then not only are you overpaying, number 2, you have to give up draft pick compensation that is substantial if you win the award. And then 3, you've pissed off all the other GMs around the league that they're going to repay you back for doing that. So offer sheets are a losing proposition.
They never. I mean, how many offer sheets have actually happened? 2 in the last 10 years. I mean, they don't do it. If there's a gentleman's agreement with all the guys, you could call it collusion, whatever you want, but they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it.
Michael M saying, Coach Conspiracy, gorgeous Grumpy, and terrible TJ. Man, I mean, it comes off looking pretty bad, but good old Grumpy.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Oh, man.
I like Mike. He's okay. He's cool.
Michael's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Very nice.
Chris Smith here saying, I agree with Coach Baffy. They get Parise for the playoffs. Yeah, but Grumpy, playoffs are different. Talking about Zach Parise performance-wise.
Yeah, but guess what? Zach Parise wasn't even able to play in the playoffs for Minnesota last year. So, yeah, no, he's a depth guy. You know what? I'll tell you what. Maybe we should bring Gretzky back. He was really good in the playoffs, too. Mike Bossy. They were good in the playoffs.
I'll take Bossy back right now. He's probably a better scorer than anybody on the team right still.
Well, you're probably right there, too, but I bet you couldn't skate a regular shift. That's my point.
Now, this kind of moves us into a few things because I know, Coach Tommy B, you wanted to bring up something about Bridgeport, and I'll let you hit on that. But Robin Stewart says our kids need to earn their ice and dominate in the AHL. Then they're ready. Over ready is always better than under ready. I'll let you take that first, Grump, and then I'll let Tommy B run with it because I know he's got a few things he wants to bring up.
Okay. Maybe if we played the younger guys in the AHL as opposed to bringing in a bunch of 4A players, I like to call them, and giving them top line spots and giving them maximum ice time, it's a developmental league. I don't think we know how to under Fredo and his pal Thompson. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing down there in Bridgeport. I really don't. They changed the logo. I mean, it's horrible. I tell you what, if I had a grandchild, they could draw a better logo than that new one that's coming up. But to me, I just don't understand. How many years do we have to see who are the guys, the Matt Laritas, who are the other clowns on the team?
Yeah, Matt Larito. You see a lot.
We had Heckelson for a while, Bernier. I mean,
that's it. I mean, why are those guys playing meaningful minutes in the AHL on a bad team? Throw the young guys out there. Let them develop. Teach them so they're ready for the big league team. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, with that part, now, and I'm going to get into something with Bridgeport because you get a decent amount of talk about Bridgeport and now the vacant Coliseum. So before I touch on that, one of the reasons why they do like to bring some veterans on the AHL team is obviously to help mold and teach these kids what the NHL is like. They want to give them a flavor of that. Now, I do agree with Grump that when you overplay the minutes of those players, you're taking away valuable minutes from young kids to develop. That's something that I agree with. But those veteran and former NHLs do help those kids in some ways and help them get an understanding. So I do think it's good to have a few of those players on the AHL team. But yes, I mean, I might want to trim their minutes a little bit. The guys who I think have a real shot to make the NHL, I want them playing and learning the system. That's crucial. I think we've proven that we can develop the defensemen really, really well. We've proven that, and
we have struggled.
We have struggled. we've had a lot of young defensemen come through the system, but we have struggled to develop forwards. There's no arguing that, and they've got to do a better job of it. Now, Wallstrom might be the first guy in a while that we're going to see really come up here and pay dividends. He's also a special talent. He's an exceptional talent. But, I mean, people have their likes and hates about Thompson. Look, Bridgeport isn't there. To me, first and foremost, they're there to develop, not to win. For people who are worrying about wins and losses, it's not as important to win games in the AHL. It's nice if you can do it, but you're there to develop players' abilities so that they can come up and play your system in the NHL and help you win a Stanley Cup. That's what the object is. And people wanted to bring up the Bridgeport thing. We talked about it the other day. There's a lot of people talking about the Bridgeport Islanders going to Nassau Coliseum. To become what? The Long Island Islanders? Is that a redundant name? Look, guys, it's not happening. For all you who don't understand this, they're close to a new 10-year deal in Bridgeport. And there's two major things here why this is not happening. Number one, the management company of Webster Bank is Oakview, okay? Oakview just bought the management rights last year. That's why the 3 preseason games are there, to award Oakview for all their assistance and help on getting the Islanders Belmont and UBS. They were a crucial figure in getting Belmont, and they also were a crucial figure when the Coliseum got shuttered in helping bring in a new partner and open up the Coliseum for last season. So we owe Oakview, and Oakview wants to keep the team in Bridgeport and earn money there. Number two is this. There is an NHL rule, or the Islanders have, since the Rangers were here before us. The New York Rangers have been in New York since the 1920s, okay? They have the rights over the area, and anything within a 50-mile radius, we have to get permission from the Rangers and have to actually pay them to put a team inside that radius. So we can't put anybody in the Coliseum. We can't put Bridgeport in the Coliseum without paying the Rangers a few $1 million to let us do it. And that's if they would even let us do it. Do the Rangers want to help the Islanders out and let their farm team be down the block?
They do. I think they do. They love the Islanders.
Yeah.
I
So it's not happening.
About that old antiquated bullshit rule. Hey, because Johnny Two Shoes was here back in the 30s, we need to go ahead and make sure everything that gets done around this town has to get approved by the New York Rangers. What? I don't know. That stuff blows me away. When you look at it, it's like the same thing. It's like one of those rules that have never been updated or looked at in years and years and years and years. And you're like, how the hell is this a law? How the hell is this a rule? That's one of those that I think that comes to the top of my mind. I was aware of that because I'd heard you talk about that before, Coach Tommy. But it's always been something that's kind of baffled me.
We had to sign that agreement when they brought the team to the Coliseum in '72, and when the NHL had to pay the New York Rangers a dividend for allowing the Islanders to become a team. I don't know if people know that. That's fact. It was Rangers territory. Now you're taking away a certain area of the state away from them.
And they made
That's
us
money.
They made us take Earl Ingerfield off their roster to make him the first coach.
Oh man. Rusty Spooner saying Wallstrom is 90% better than the 90-year-olds. Coach Tommy B is representative of the Coliseum Nursing Home Association 100%. Enough with the archaeological fossil program. I did lose a few comments and I apologize.
Again, I'm going to guarantee they were very complimentary of the grumpy old man.
I bet you every single one that I lost was all grumpy old man is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We need to have him as our general manager, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. That's probably what all of them were grumpy.
Here's the thing. TJ never hesitates to put up the ones where young ladies said, oh, TJ's so cute. Oh, hi, TJ. You're the best. Not the grumpy old man. It's like grumpy. He says one, grumpy old man, you suck. You're insane. You're stupid. And all those things are true, honestly. But still, you don't need to post them for everybody to see.
Oh, man, grumpy. Something else.
No, like my favorite ones are when he posts my couch jokes with you on the couch. Those are the ones I love when he posts the most.
I think the couch has a personality of its own now.
Speaking of random ones, Michael T wants to know, hey, Grumpy, did you ever dress us up as Elvis for Halloween? This is what the viewers want to know.
I couldn't grow the sideburns when I was still doing Halloween, but I did have the hair for it back then. And, of course, everyone knows I can sing. So, yeah. But no. You got to remember, Elvis was still alive and kicking back then. I think it's imitating Elvis kind of happened later when I was kind of out of the Halloween thing.
Oh,
we used to get like those cheesy costumes. I usually we didn't have a whole lot of money in my family, so we dress up as bums. Take a piece of charcoal, rub it on your face, then wear some ratty old shirt. Yeah, we were bums. I mean, which really wasn't far from the truth from what I was anyway. So no problem.
Oh man, grumpy old man, something else. Also, Brian P saying here, TJ goes. Tommy got him started on the master and the best third line in all of hockey.
Like I said, here's the thing, Brian. TJ he brings all his little yes men on the podcast, whatever. Yes, TJ. Wait till you hear Phil Fax. That ought to be a laugh when he comes on.
Give Phil Fax some credit. He's hit some things well lately.
No, I do like Phil, but I know that he and TJ have a regular ongoing conversation, like you and TJ do.
You think these people I bring on we're all in one big group message, and what it is it says hatred towards the grumpy old man or something like that. And we just
what you're like. Grumpy. You know what you're like. You and your little buddies. It's like Bailey and Letty on the power play. Just oh yes, throw it back to me, Josh. Oh, thanks, Nick. That's what it's like.
Robin Stewart said also against Tampa, Coach Tommy B is right. Pajot would have been the difference. Did I mention Lee?
No. Stop, people. Stop. The best team won. The best team won.
Good job, Robin.
Everyone by a mile. By a mile. They toyed with us. Sorry. Even the games we won, they were struggles. The first game, we played the perfect game, and they didn't wake up till it was 3 minutes to go. And if that game would have went another 5 minutes, we would have lost. I mean, Tampa was just the best team in the league last year. Move on.
I don't think that Jean-Gabriel Pajot makes a difference to win the series. If he's healthy, sure, it does help. But I'm not sure. And again,
no, it helps. It helps. Our third line did nothing offensively in that series at all, and the key reason for that is Pajot was playing with one hand.
And who was wingers?
Think about this. Our third line struggled so badly too. Once Jean-Gabriel Pajot had that hurt hand, they said, Barry did that one time period where he's like, I'm going to go ahead and match up Zajac and Komarov and a broken hand. Jean-Gabriel Pajot on the same line, and you're like, holy crap, you talk about one line that is majorly depleted.
It's why, this would have had gotten 2 more weeks of life if Pajot had not broken his hand. This would have had 2 more weeks of life in Nassau Coliseum.
Oh, man. Jay Rich, I want to talk about this, Grump, because you hit on earlier. So you're insane, Grumpy, if you don't think face-offs are important. You don't know hockey. I want to say one thing. Face-offs are important. Grumpy, I think, knows faceoffs are important. Maybe he doesn't. Who the heck knows? But it's more important, I believe, on our first line to produce points. I'd rather have us lose faceoffs 60% of the time, but if they can actually do their job, which is score goals, that's the first line. That's what I want them to do. And when you bring an anchor like Leo Komarov, who, I mean, what was the replacement? Like 6%, 6 additional percent on the faceoff dot? Oh.
Just don't forget this. The only time that Leo Komarov was ever in the offensive zone was to take a faceoff, and then he'd skate right back out again because he was never in the offensive zone. He was always behind the defense. We were playing 3 defense. Like I said, it's tough. It was tough for Barzal to play, just him and Everly.
I have an interesting solution to that problem. We talk about guys who need to work on their skating or work on their shot, and we send guys for power skating lessons, other guys who work on their shot. Just maybe if you're a guy who isn't that great of a faceoff guy, it just might be smart to have him work with the ultimate expert on faceoffs and fix it. I don't know.
They need to go to face-off camp, as I say all the time.
Face-off
clinic.
I think we can both agree he was better on the face-offs last year than he was in the prior year.
He did improve.
He started off really well.
He has improved. It's the weakest part of his game, but you can't say that he hasn't improved. And maybe just, I don't know why he can't do it, but it's certainly not a strength of his. But he definitely did improve last year.
I mean, look, if you can go to band camp, you can go to face-off camp, right?
That's true.
That's how I look at it. You have a camp for everything. It could be a TJ camp for doing this show here and all his production work. There could be a TJ production camp.
Do you ever notice how TJ is so deliberate in his speech patterns? And he's like real smooth. He should almost be doing like a jazz program, and hey, let's put on some Coltrane here. Just
Well, I was talking
How about a little Miles Davis, everybody.
Talking about trying to increase production value. I was like, Grumpy, we need to start bringing you in the 21st century. Maybe start getting some lights, a set of headphones, maybe improving your microphone. And I was speaking with Dave about this, a guy who was reaching out to me, kind of talking about Grumpy setup. And I was like, I can only imagine what it looks like. We were thinking, could Grumpy old man have a microphone to where he had it close to his face, or would he be flailing around way too often? I think that no. Grump, you would have to have one of those mics that pick up from a long bit away. Michael T saying a Grumpy Carmine Falcone. I guess it's sticking, Grump.
Well, with Michael T, he's the only one who mentions it.
Frank K, they're saying hell in a cell. You, Coach Tommy V against the grumpy old man. Oh man, we don't need to see the geriatric game going at it.
He looked like damn Mick Foley with teeth hanging out of his damn nose when I got done with them.
I'll be the Yul Brenner of wrestling.
You can be the unicorn. Yeah.
Aunt Bruce said, "Grumpy old man, what do you like better, the New Jersey Islanders or the New York Devils?"
Well, it is the New York Devils, so it's not the New Jersey Islanders. That means that some of our players would need to go over there. So no, we're taking the flotsam that is the New Jersey Devils and incorporating them into the New York Devils. Thank you.
Oh man. So you want it to be the New York Devils. That's what you want, right?
No, I don't want it to be. That's what I don't want. We'll be the Devils. That's what I don't want to happen.
It's making me think of Seinfeld when you say that. Remember the Devils character guy with the Devils.
Yeah,
and you do that. I always think of that guy.
That was
funny. That's it. Funny.
He was on. That's right. And he was also in Disney movies. He played Kronk in what was the name of that movie?
Emperor's
New Groove.
Yes.
He was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Sal P saying exactly, Grumpy. We should definitely start transitioning Sorokin into the number one starting goal.
I just think, bringing Barry he'd be kicking and screaming to play somebody under 30 in net. I have a question. We see that they announced the coaching staff for the Olympics for the Canadian team. And, of course, John Cooper, two-time Stanley Cup winning champion. Right. He was just a flash in the pan, right, TJ?
Hey, I'll stick with it. If he doesn't win more than 2 cups with that team and the roster the way it was, as I told you before, that son of a gun was way overrated. But he did. Congrats.
He's a good coach. And Barry is one of the assistants. Do you think they'll put Barry in charge of the power play? What do you think he'll be in charge of?
He'll probably be in charge of the penalty kill and defensive structure.
There you go.
Probably, yes.
I mean, he's the best at that in the league.
I mean, the other guys are pretty tall. It's going to be you got the 2 tall guys, and you got that little mole in the corner over there with the defensive guys.
Oh man,
he's short. I mean, come on, he's short.
Now, this is something I think we can all chime in on too. Michael T saying, I still cannot believe you guys feel Tarasenko is the answer to all the Islanders Cup winning equations. 3 surgeries on one shoulder is playing with inevitable fire. I'll let Tommy B take this first, and then Grumpy, you can get in.
And I'll repeat this to you. I mean, if Tarasenko's shoulder is healthy enough to be able to play a full season in playoffs, he is. Maybe you're underestimating who he is, Michael. He was the best player on a Stanley Cup championship team. I'll say it again, and he is one of the most natural scorers in the league. Yes. We don't know the true condition of his shoulder. None of us on this show do. And that's why I'm saying there are reports that his medicals have not been something that teams like. Have we seen them? No. But if he is recovered from those surgeries, and remember, one of the surgeries was botched. We all know that, right? They botched one of the surgeries and they had to repair the botched surgery. Okay, so if they correctly took care of the botched surgery and he can handle playing full games and taking hits, I want him. And if he can't, I don't want him. But if you want to talk about Tarasenko as the player that he is and that we've known, that guy can put us over the top. There's no way around it. He can put us over the top.
Yeah, for me, I'm not saying he wins a Stanley Cup for us, but it improved us where I feel we're actually a legitimate contender, because I feel that we are going to be a tough team to play against, and we're going to give everyone a hard time. But until we get a finisher, a real finisher on the top to play with Matt Barzal, I just think that the best teams are out of our reach. I just think they have too much talent for us to put over top. This guy puts us in that conversation, I feel. And here's another thing. Yes, he's had the 3 shoulder surgeries. I heard the first 2 were messed up, and the third one by an independent doctor who has said that the shoulder is great now. I don't know if anyone's, like I said, I have no idea who's seen what, but if you're a team looking to make a trade, there's no way that St. Louis is going to say, you can't look at his, you cannot look at his stuff, or you cannot investigate his health of his shoulder. I don't believe that, because they'll never move him if that's the case. He'll never get moved. But like I said, another thing to remember is that there's not a whole lot of physicality in the NHL anymore. You're not seeing guys run into the boards all the time. It just isn't there anymore. The game is more like the ice capades than it was 30 years ago. So I think that helps as well.
Coach Tommy B, did you happen to see Vladimir Tarasenko or some weird-looking MRIs in Lou Lamoriello's trash can anytime soon? Is that something we can get out there to the media and have some independent people go ahead and give us their take on what shoulder looks like?
Oh, wow. Now you guys are asking me to violate HIPAA.
Oh. Hey, if we don't know who it is and it's just some random shoulder surgery, it could have just been a stock image for all I know.
I unfortunately have not found any films in the trash can. No films. No, not those type of films. The type of films I found I don't want to talk about. But
I'm not touching that. I knew where he was going, though.
And just, by the way, what I wanted to touch on something Grump just said. He's right about the regular season when he says that hockey is nowhere near what it was as far as the physicality of it in the regular season. But the playoffs is still pretty nasty. The playoffs are still pretty nasty physical-wise. These guys come in the playoffs, they hit differently, they fight a little more, they get nastier. That's where I'd be more worried about it holding up. But I agree. If he's reasonably healthy, he makes us a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. He'll score 40 goals for Barzal, guys. And you know what? Today's 40 goals was yesterday's 60 goals. I might add that in today's game.
Goaltending, ever since the butterfly style, goaltending has – I just, hey, Bossy scored 50 goals, 9 straight years. Does he do that today? Probably not. I think the butterfly style, but he was a sniper, though. He scored a lot of goals from far out.
They didn't have those crazy composite sticks like they do now. Also, worth mentioning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They didn't have that also.
And the goalies also didn't have this type of goalie equipment back then.
Yeah, yep. Way bigger. Bigger.
Oh yeah, we're definitely seeing that been elevated on both sides. Scott L. bringing up what Tommy had mentioned there, Coach Tommy B said, the rivalry between Sorokin and Shesterkin will be great, but imagine the rivalry between Tarasenko and Panarin trying to outscore each other.
Scott bringing the heat. Scott's bringing the heat. Yes, sirree, Scott.
Have a question here from Ed A. And again, I wonder if anybody else shares the same opinion on it. That's exactly what I was thinking, Grumpy. The Rangers want to ruin our trades with Tarasenko, perhaps.
I think they just want to improve their team. And honestly, do the Rangers need more offensive firepower? Probably not. But are you going to turn down, especially if you can get him, at a reasonable price, a Tarasenko? I mean, I'm all for loading up with talented players. Best players play. There's reasons why those guys win titles. There's a reason.
And I'll say it again. I think the Rangers and Tarasenko is basically clickbait. You are going to get reports out there that are not true. I believe they have been all in on Eichel, but they have drawn their line on what they're willing to give up for Eichel. And that's why, in a very similar situation, they're waiting for Buffalo to blink, knowing that Buffalo can't have Eichel on this freaking team next season. And I think many people might feel that way about St. Louis and Tarasenko, that after what's gone on, they can't have Tarasenko on their team next season. So we're trying to make them blink. It's poker.
Yeah, you know what? But I'm willing. You know what? All right, I'll up the ante just a little bit because he makes us an actual contender. I mean, to me, that's the difference. I don't know what they're asking for. Like if it's Beauvillier, no, I'm against that. But other than that, who on this team is really I don't really think there's anybody except for a couple of players that I would be unwilling to move off of this team.
I'm going to bring up something interesting with that. Just say, like I had mentioned that in the end, I'd be like, look, due to the shoulder problems, I want to make the money work. Bailey's 5, Hickey's 2.5, that's 7.5, 7.5 at Tarasenko. There you go. Your money's work. This is just a straight move money back and forth. Cap boys, you want them off the team. If they asked and said, all right, add Bellows in and we'll make the deal, do you do it?
Yes.
Is Bellows ever going to get a legitimate shot here? Because if he's not, I'm willing to move him. If he's never going to get a shot here, which, Josh Hosang was a perfect example.
Go to Josh Hosang. Time to infuriate some fans. Hot button. Bam, bam, bam.
No, I'm just saying, here's the thing. We know he had other issues, but he was never given a legit shot. And to me, if you're not going to give Bellows a legit shot, has he gotten a legitimate shot yet? No, he is not. There's any excuse they can to sit that kid down to do. And if that's the way you want it, then move him. If you have no use for him on your roster, move him. I have no problem with that.
I want to ask Coach Tommy B about a few things. Now, again, I'm not sure how much you could share on this, but the issues possibly that might be, you have some hypothesis and some ideas as to what you think the issues might be between Bellows and the New York Islanders as a franchise and organization.
Well, first off, with Bellows, and Lou is like an elephant. He never forgets. He doesn't forget things. And we do know that Bellows had a little steroid issue there that went on. With a PED. All right. Look, I'm in the belief that people make mistakes in life. None of us are perfect, and especially young men. Young men will make their mistakes, and I'm always willing to give somebody a second chance, and even a third chance. I'm okay with. But Hosang had 6,000 and 8,000 chances. I have no issue with what happened with Hosang. I don't. The kid was just not the right. I told you something about Hosang that I noticed. Like, I'd gone to meet and greets at Bridgeport, right? And you're there, and the players are meeting the fans, and it's a friendly thing before the season starts. And all the guys are gathered together, and there's one guy by himself, and it's Josh Hosang. That tells me something.
But
that he's not hanging out with his teammates. He's not, he's a loner. And teams are teams. The concept of team is team. And if you can't, even at that age, learn to be with your friends and your team and hanging out with them, I got to worry about you. Now, Bellows is not like that. Okay, Bellows is around his teammates. I think Bellows has potential to be a 20-25 goal scorer in the NHL. I do. I still think he has to improve skating. I still think he has to improve 3-zone play. But I do think that Bellows has a future in this league. Does he have it with the Islanders? I'm really not sure. I think there have to be some type of injury that catapults him into play, and then he does well, and then he just grabs the job and never lets go. But, I'm with Grump. I don't think they do have a lot of future plans for Bellows. So then use him as the asset that he is and get something that can help you win a cup.
And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. You mentioned something about Josh Hosang, right? Okay. So they knew the issues he had. Why did you re-sign him year after year? I mean, you know what? Just cut the kid loose. To me, it was like punishment. We're going to punish you and ruin your career by keeping you in this situation. I'm not saying it's what really happened, but that's almost what it feels like. And from the kid's perspective, it's like, you don't want me. You're never going to give me a shot. Let me go. Or do anything else. I just thought that was just wrong. I just always feel it's wrong.
I get what you're saying. I think at first that's not what it was. I think at first they were hoping to get some value for him, knowing that he was a talented kid. They didn't want to just lose him for nothing. I think that's what it was at first. I think over like the last year and a half when he was here, I think then it became a vendetta. I think that at that point they were like, you didn't want to adhere to our rules, our system, our thing. Now we're going to punish you.
See, that's to me, that's really poor management. That's piss poor management, if that's the case. Just move on from him. How is it helping your team? You should be trying to win instead of having a personal vendetta against a 23-year-old kid.
They did technically move on last year because he was in Europe. He was nowhere near the franchise.
But he didn't have to be re-signed last year. They didn't have to sign him. Why? Like I said, to me, it's like, why? And I almost feel like Bellows is the same situation. It's like, okay, he's not getting a shot. Yeah, we play him a little bit. Yeah, he scored 3 goals in 3 games. As soon as he didn't score a goal, bam, back to banishment. We're never going to see you again.
They didn't trust me when I tell you this. They did not want Bellows selected by Seattle. The player they wanted to get selected by Seattle did get selected. I'm just telling you all that now. It was set up that way. And it was for cap space, and they knew they were signing Palmieri, and they said, okay, we can afford to lose him, and we're trying to work on this other trade and bring all our other guys back. They didn't want to lose Bellows for nothing. They know Bellows has value. They're not stupid. I just, they have this thing sometimes where, as I said, he made a mistake. I say, let it wash it away. It's a mistake.
Again, poor management. And if that's Lou, that's poor. I don't care that, first of all, I could care less that he took steroids. Absolutely could care less. He was just dumb enough to get caught. He was just dumb enough to get caught.
I'm going to say something now to the fans right now about that. It's more Trotz than Lou.
Well, that
it's more Trotz than Lou.
That wouldn't
including Trotz hated Jose. Couldn't stand him.
See, you kind of look and see. That's the whole thing. It's like, why are you not able to look past certain things for the talent that we have? I feel that Barry tries to continually, instead of taking the talent that you have available and tweak your system to fit the talent, he's going to try to jam that talent, that square talent, into that round hole. And to me, really good coaches, and I'm not saying Barry's not a good coach, because he is, but the great coaches know how to adapt the talent that they have and incorporate it into their system, but alter their system to get the best out of each player.
Which you want to do, but there's also something that I talked about earlier, about how you saw how brokenhearted Jordan Eberle was to leave this franchise. He was never an East Coaster, too. He was a guy that wanted to stay out and play with Calgary or Edmonton and be out west. And he came here and he loved it, and he bought a home on Long Island because he wanted to stay here so badly because they have such a camaraderie in that dressing room. It's not like any other dressing room. That's what enables us to have a chance to win. The camaraderie of this team is insane. It's like no other place. These guys most of these guys who play here don't want to leave anymore. They want to stay. They're willing to take a little less. They want to sign the longer-term deal and stay. Okay? But if you're an outcast in that locker room, if you become an outcast in that locker room, this is the worst locker room to be an outcast in, because they will chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah. So I've got an issue with that too, because one of those things is like anytime as a teammate, you're going to have teammates you don't like. It's how it always is. But one of those things is being a good teammate is you put across whatever type of issues you may have with them. I might not like that, player B does X, Y, Z. Most times you're able to get over that because you're all professionals. Now, I've always had, you talked about, I want to bring up 2 points. You talked about Josh Ho-Sang, how he was by himself. I always try to look at it from the player's perspective. And again, I don't know Josh Ho-Sang through a hole in the wall. But if you're an individual who thinks you're a talented enough player to be playing in the NHL, I could see it be very easy to become hardened and upset with your situation and your teammates and the rest of, the organization as a whole, where you're saying, I've produced up in the NHL level. I'm seeing other players around my age that are still getting that opportunity that are, I know I'm better than, and I'm the one who gets sent back down to the A. I'm the one who gets sent back down to Bridgeport. I can definitely see how you become a callous individual with that. I'm not saying it's right. I just could say I can see it. And another thing about the steroids, no issue at all with that either. Barry Trotz might have an issue with it. Newsflash here, Barry. A lot of players use performance-enhancing drugs. They use anything they can to get any competitive edge. Some things are legal. Some things aren't. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on that. That's never something that's upset me. You see it all the time. Players get popped in every sport for it.
But, I told you, I give Bellows the pass on that. To me, I let it go. I'm not guaranteeing that the organization is holding it over his head either. It's just a sneaking suspicion of mine.
Yeah, I think it might be a correct suspicion. I think it might be a correct. Okay. That's the only reason I bring it up, because I think that is their thought process.
Okay,
I believe that
as far as I'm saying, that shows you immaturity. When a player goes down and does that, and that's a test. That sometimes they test players to see how they're going to act in tough situations. They believe that winning in sports is also relegated to character, not just talent. Okay, and when they see poor character, and you cannot tell me Ho-Sang does not have poor character. He has very poor character. I hope he enjoys rooming with Tavares, because that's going to be an interesting two roommates up there in Toronto. Okay, but he has poor character. I don't think Fellows is an issue of poor character. Not at all. I think Hosang was.
For me, I'll never forget the first year when Hosang got sent down, when Barry and Lou, their first year, and they said, we heard some things about him. We didn't see it here because he played well in that preseason. He certainly deserved a shot. He certainly deserved a shot with the big team. And I remember Lou saying, well, you know what? Yeah, he did well. We've heard some things, about him in the past, but we didn't see him. But we're sending him down to work on those things. Well, dude, if you didn't see him, what the hell is he supposed to work on? And that would, if I was the Hosang, that would have pissed me off too. Why not just be honest? We don't like you. We don't want you. We don't want you with this organization. Let's move on from you.
They tried to trade him. They tried to trade him multiple times.
You're bad-mouthing your player all the time, and you let the organization bad-mouth a kid. What kind of trade value is he going to have?
I'm just saying they put him out there for trade quite often, and basically they were getting offered like 7th-round picks for him, and they decided they decided we don't want to hand him over. That he's got talent.
But if he's never going to play for you, bring in a 7th-round pick. We could get
They
ourselves next Martinek.
They were hoping he would grow up at some point and then show something so they could deal him. And they got to a point where they knew he wasn't going to be an Islander. Now, I think they knew that for the last year and a half, 2 years. But they were hoping that he would do enough down there and show enough that they could bring, if they had to bring him up for a couple of games, just to showcase him and trade him. That's what they were trying to do. But Hosang pouted every time he was down there. He didn't even give him a reason to bring him up once he went down. I watched some of those games down there when he was sent down. That was the most disinterested player I ever watched on an ice. I was like, this guy does not give a crap.
I'm not saying that he was emotionally ready, but you know what? Sometimes not everyone is the same.
I agree.
Some people you have to handle with kid gloves. You can't, well, this is the way we do it in our organization. We're not going to do anything but this. You're a little bit different. Sorry, no shot.
Picking out the robot.
For me, you know what? Okay, so the kid needed a little bit of TLC. Look at the talent level he had. I mean, and he did. Everybody admits, I thought he and Brock Nelson were beautiful together. I thought they were beautiful together. And why would you not try to nurture a talent like that as opposed to just saying, nope, you don't fit our model, so we're moving on, or we're not even moving on from you. We're just going to keep you. And here's the thing. I don't care if you say did they want getting anything for him when they let his contract out? Nope. So they could have got the next Radek Martinek. Instead, they got nothing for him. I just think when ownership or when the management team is petty like that, it just sends a bad message. If you're in our little boys club and you want to all the guys love playing there because they can play with the team until they're 40 years old. So they're going to continue to get more paychecks. That's why they want to play there. And I do believe the guys like one another. Absolutely, I do. But you know what? We're not in it to appease the players. We're here to win Stanley Cups. That's what it's about. It's not because we all want to live in the same neighborhood and play together till we're 38 years old. Like I said, for me, I just think a little bit differently on that. I'm just all about winning the cup. That's all.
I would have handled him personally. I would have handled him differently than he was handled. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have. I was one who, the day he was drafted, was extremely excited about him. I knew who he was. I knew he had a bad reputation, but I knew his talent level was of a top 10 guy. I knew he had that type of talent. I knew it could be a bit of a problem. It's a bad start. The first time you show up at camp and the guy oversleeps, here we go. That stuff sounds stupid. I know it does. It does sound stupid in a way, but when you're playing as a professional athlete, a professional hockey player, look, they expect you to be in with your other teammates, in the meetings on time, paying attention to the meetings, doing all the things that everybody else is doing. And when you don't do that stuff, and I heard a lot of stories about the crap he did, it was so rebellious. I do it my way, and that's it.
Share with us. I want to hear these stories. I have no problem at all with him oversleeping. I've done that before.
Do you remember when he came up and played those 10 games and he played fairly well? And I think he had like 1 goal and 1 assist, but he played very good defense. Do you remember that stretch?
Yeah.
He freaking fell asleep in a freaking meeting. They were in a meeting and he just fell asleep in the meeting, and that was it. That was it.
I don't get that. Again, like we had players who'd fall asleep. It's not something I'm encouraging them to do, but what you do is you go ahead and gas the shit out of them at the end of the practice. You make an example out of them. You don't say, that's it, you're not playing. You're sending you. Am I not important enough for you to pay attention to? It means we're sending you back to Bridgeport. We're sitting you on the bench this week. We're never letting you play again the rest of the season. No,
I would have made him walk on the ice on his knuckles without his gloves and had to go from one end to the other. That would be my punishment.
No one pays money to see a coach. No one pays money to see a general manager. They pay money to watch players.
They play money.
That's what they
wins.
Hang out, unless it was Billy Martin.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. Billy Martin couldn't manage today, though. Okay, but now, see, you threw me off my train of thought. I did. Oh, you mentioned how the players in the locker room, they punish these kids. You know what that means? The players have too much power. You said, well, like, they would castigate these kids. And it's like, you know what? The players have too much power then. Because what a good coach says, you know what? Knock it off. I know you don't like him. Let's find a way to make it work, because guess what? We're here to win, fellas. And this kid can help us win. So let's work with him, particularly with the leadership group that we have on this team. Somebody should have taken that kid under his wing, really taken him under his wing and worked with him through these things. Like you see them do with all the younger kids in the organization. They get their mentor, right? Matt Barzal was with Seidenberg. Tavares was with Waite. You know what? Have somebody how about our captain, Anders Lee, that average loser? How about having him put this kid under his wing instead of running him out of town?
I've got to stop. I'm going to feel like the grumpy old man, and I know Tommy's got a response, but I'm going to feel like the grumpy old man. The same, the item you're bringing up, it's the same thing that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did with Antonio Brown. Unbelievable talent. Again, I'm not trying to liken Antonio Brown to Josh Osang, so don't lose your nuts, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm saying a guy who's got talent, a guy who does have a lot of issues popping up all over the place, the guy with the strongest character on the team, the guy who said, I'm going to take ownership. I want to win. I believe this guy has the ability and the talent that can help us grow into it. That's a situation of that nature. I want to let you get to your point, Tommy. I just would have forgotten if I didn't bring it up.
Look, I understand that type of thinking, because I was both hard and soft. I had a soft part of me that I do care about people. So when I see people struggling mentally, I do want to help them, round them out so that they are better rounded people and more confident. And yes, it's easy to beat on the little guy, the person that doesn't know what he's doing. It's easy just to beat on him that way. It's kind of like military thought, the way this goes on sometimes in sports. They think like the military. You either have to abide by everything, and if you don't do it, you're an outcast. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'd rather try and mold them to get them to do the right things. Not everybody responds to, toughness. Some people respond to a little bit of TLC. Some people, you can get them to do things better. You have to know who you're dealing with. That's psychology.
Parcells used to do that beautifully. When he wanted to get to Lawrence Taylor, he knew he couldn't yell at Lawrence Taylor. So he'd yell at Carl Banks or Harry Carson or Brad Van Pelt, but he would never yell at Taylor because Taylor would tune him out. And that's what a truly great coach, one that sets them apart. Al Arbor was the same way.
Oh, Potvin, when he would do the Potvin. Right? Oh my God.
But think about it. But you can't treat everybody the same way. You want to get maximum performance out of every player. You cannot treat everybody like a cookie cutter. This is not 1950, and it's not the military, as much as they try to run it like a military organization. It's not. These athletes are from 2020. They're not from 1940. It's a different time. And you see the really great coaches are able to do that. And once again, I'm not putting Barry Trotz down. He's an excellent coach. I just don't think he's, high exalted mystic ruler. Great.
I think Barry's a top 5 coach, but I don't think he's the best coach in the league.
No.
I mean, I'm just being what I feel about him. He has a great track record. He's won a cup. His teams make the playoffs pretty much every year. You don't see a lot of tomfoolery with his teams. They play hard, but he's not the perfect coach. And I never claimed that he was. He has some faults, and that's probably his weak spot is that.
Coach Tommy B, you better not say anything like that on this show.
You're going to get banned. You might get banned from somewhere, buddy.
No, Coach Tommy B, if you start talking about how Coach Barry Trotz isn't, all high and exalted, you might be in trouble. Might be treading in some treacherous waters. I will say one thing though, Grumpy and Tommy. I'm not saying it needs to be the military, and I know I say I don't care if he falls asleep in in the meeting. It shouldn't be done like that. You should fall asleep in meetings. You should be punished for it. You still do have to have structure in some capacity.
Yes.
I know, like all the athletes are different. They're more, with the TLC or the TCL. You still need to have structure, though.
TLC. Thank you.
TLC.
I don't know, TCL.
The other one's a band.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I heard that before. Yeah, but seriously, right? Why wouldn't Anders Lee take him on? You know what? You're going to room with me. You're going to live with me. We're going to show you the ropes. They have so many veterans on this team. Many. I mean,
that's all.
Tell me, it couldn't have worked. It could have worked. I just don't think they put in the work for the kid. And here's the thing. It might have wound up being something that didn't happen, but I don't think they put in the effort to probably get the best out of him. To me, that's the frustrating thing.
That's an old school method that I agree with you. I do remind, and I hate to bring up the guy's name because Islander fans freak out, but the first thing they did with John Tavares was what? They roomed him with Doug Weight.
Yeah.
You know what? To have an older guy who knows the ropes of everything to teach you how to properly behave in the sport. And I'm sure Doug Weight wasn't yelling at John Tavares. He was just teaching him.
That's right. Treat him like one of the family, like one of his own kids.
Yes.
And work with him like that. Now, here's the thing. Maybe that wouldn't have worked with Josh Hosang. We'll never know. But I don't think he had that opportunity. And you see, though, they saw Seidenberg did it with Barzell.
Yes.
Right? They lived together for however a year plus. He was like part of the family. And I think that's a smart thing to do. I think that's really, really smart. You got to remember, these kids are 18, 19. They're still boys yet. They're still boys. They don't know anything. I mean, anything at that age. Here's the thing. When I was 18, I didn't know anything. I barely knew how to shave.
And think about this. They're boys who've just been given money.
Yep.
A lot of money. That's a big responsibility. So they can get really out of hand. You give them that type of money, they can get really out of hand. So it's good to have people teach. That's the really deep behind the scenes stuff of sports and the NHL that a lot of fans don't even think about or know about. But it's important in development.
I think the original 30 for 30 episode was Broke, was the name of it. And they talked about how all these athletes made all this money and they're all broke. A lot of them come from bad socioeconomic situations. They get this money and they spend everything, and I don't know what Josh Hosang's home life was. I don't know what it was like. I mean, I know he had some type of issues in juniors as well, but maybe he just needed a mentor, someone who could really talk to him, and he never got that. And I'm not on the Josh Hosang is the greatest thing since sliced bread train, but I just saw the way he was treated over the years, and I don't want to see a repeat of that with Kiefer Bellows for whatever reason. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think Bellows is being outcasted anywhere near like Hosang was. So, Bellows did play some games. He was on the taxi squad. He was pretty much up. So I don't think that's the case there. I do think the trust level thing, though, that he has hurt the trust level a little bit. So he has to do things just a little bit safer and cleaner for him to get what he wants in the end.
That's a year and a half ago. That shit's a year and a half ago. When are you going to let that go? At some
I
point,
let it go.
Oh no!
I
think it. And the thing is, the reason why we bounce back on that, at least I did the same way, is because I think you are 100% right. I think that is exactly what the organization thinks, and I think that's their thought process. And I don't really agree with that either.
And if that's a Barry issue, that's a failure on him as a coach. And you would think, honestly, for him and his situation, you would think that he would be a little bit more sensitive to stuff like that. At least I feel that way. But, it is what it is. TJ, do we have more comments? There we go.
We do. Brian P. said, this might be a good line. TJ centering Coach Tommy B and Grumpy would be the third line, of course. Hey, I don't want to be centering. That's way too much skating for me to do. Coach Tommy B looks like he's centering the third line. I don't want to be skating that much.
Okay, there's no way Tommy B is centering. He's not. Matter of fact, he is the Zach Parise on that line. Finished.
I
could see TJ would definitely be the center. He would definitely be
the TBG line.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't.
TBG line.
But let's be honest, TJ would be the center. Yes.
Robin Stewart said, how about Thomas Shabbat? I don't know how we would ever fit him under the cap.
No.
That's another guy that fits in Ottawa. I don't feel like they're ever looking to move him.
He's not great defensively by any stretch of the imagination, and he gets paid. I mean, he's on a big contract, so he doesn't fit. Sorry,
Doesn't feel like that.
Angelo R. also said, this is something we've talked about a lot of times. The power play is atrocious. Need to make other teams pay when they take penalties.
Preaching to the choir.
Angelo, here is something that, in regards to the Islanders power play, that is mind-boggling to me, and I said this. Good power plays work. There's two key parts to a good power play other than traffic. Traffic is important, but you need a big booming shot from the point. And we consistently put guys on the point that don't have big booming shots. That's one weakness. And the second is movement. Watch an Islander power play. The only guy that's moving is Matt Barzal.
It's because we don't have any talent. We don't have any talent. We have no offensive talent on the team. You want to know something? I thought you were going to say, what was the first statement you made? The thing that you surprised you about the power play that makes it bad? It's Josh Bailey's on it. That's all you need to know. He's on the power play. He's an abomination.
I think I actually personally with Letty, the guy never shoots. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah,
he never shoots.
Never. You can't have a Bailey and a Letty on the same power play unit because neither one of them shoot the puck.
Shooting the puck brings guys to you and opens up lanes.
And here's the thing: Noah Dobson not a big booming slap shot, but he puts the puck on net.
He does.
I mean, and like I said, when he went down with COVID, that kind of changed the season for him. I don't think he ever fully recovered from that 100%, or if he did, it was late in the season. But, and here's the thing, you can't put Ryan Pulock on the point. Yeah, he'll shoot the puck, but you just, he's like, who was the kid in the Mighty Ducks who couldn't hit the net?
Colton.
I would still go with Pulock over all those guys because, the thing is Pulock gets streaky with hitting the net. But when he is hitting the net, it changes your power play because he's such a weapon. That's why I got to roll with him above the other guys because, again, his shot is something they have to actually respect. Nick Letty's little wimpy shot is not – no one's respecting that. And then they can back off the guy at the point, and then where's your open lane? There is none.
Right.
So go ahead.
If you get a Tarasenko and put him in that think about that. With Dobson up top, yeah, that works. And Barzal, that works.
That works.
Brian P. also saying absolutely grumpy. Tarasenko and Wallstrom full-time makes the offseason. The last 3 years, the Islanders finished bottom 3 in the league in scoring. I guess that might be average.
You're not going to win a cup like that. You're just not. Sorry.
Michael T. also has a comment saying, what a shame that Johnny Boychuk had his career ended prematurely with that freak eye injury. It was really unfortunate. Again, that's one of those things that affects your daily life for the rest of your life. That being said, Johnny was kind of towards the tail end. I'm not saying obviously I'm happy he got injured or anything like that. It was unfortunate the way he got injured, but I mean, we benefit from it now.
One thing I just want to mention real quick, I see that Michael T has changed his previous little picture, which used to be the Mets hat. I guess since they just went in a freaking tank, he went to old standby Dennis Potvin wearing the rings. Gotta love it.
I'll let you comment on that too, Coach Tommy B.
Johnny Boychuk, consummate professional, great career. And I'm sorry his career ended that way, but that guy's career was excellent. So he's got a career you celebrate. Most players don't get to walk away from the game on their own. That's the rule of sports. Most guys either leave because they can't play anymore and they refuse to accept it, or they get hurt. So this is part of sports, guys. It happens.
Or they come to the Islanders and they get big long-term extensions when they're finished.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Another option.
Yeah, I hope his daily life isn't affected too much. That's always one of the things. You always want to make sure.
Layup. That was a layup. Just too easy.
Oh, goodness gracious. Grumpy old man. It's something else, as always, Grump. Moving right along here. Michael T. also saying, F the Rangers. They spend money and sign all these big-name free agents like Grumpy likes, but they never win shit.
I never am an advocate for signing big-name free agents. I'm not.
Explain that, because you always talk about when's the last time the Islanders have signed a big-name free agent, and we go years and years back. Oh, you go Andrew Lav is the biggest ever. So you do want us to sign one at least big-name free agent.
Only if they're a fit. Only if they're a fit.
Panarin was a fit.
Panarin was a fit with Barzal. That's why I wanted him. Panarin was a fit. You want to know what else? And here's the thing. I want Tarasenko. He's not a free agent. I didn't like anybody else. I didn't want Palmieri back. I mean, sorry. I don't know what he's going to get, but when I'm always scared when they say multi-year deal, because I know that's more than one, but when in the Islanders, multi-year deal is like 4 or 5. And I don't want to pay a 30-year-old once again for another 5 years. Haven't we seen enough of that?
Most of these guys got 4 to 5 year deals.
See, there you go. I mean, just the type of things that burn my butt.
Scott L says, I know Vancouver won't get rid of Besser, but what do you think about possibly trading for a guy like that?
You're right, Scott. They're not getting rid of him.
That's an oxymoron.
They're not getting rid of him. I like Brock Besser. He would fit in here. He
can score. He can score.
And he's a younger kid who plays a two-way game. They have quite a few players, young veterans on that team that would fit in here, but they're not letting them go. They'd be foolish to let them go.
I actually think he plays too hard sometimes. That's why he gets hurt a decent amount. Because I think I think he doesn't know how to manage his minutes.
I like him a lot.
I do like him a lot, though. He's very talented.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that hit, though. Don't forget that hit with Cal Clutterbuck laid on him that hurt him, and all those Vancouver fans got all upset about it. Islanders fan for life said, what do you think the percentage is that we go into next season with the same team with Parise being our only addition?
It's actually going to be a lesser team because you've also subtracted a top 4 defenseman. So I will say 98%.
Whoa, how'd you come? Grump, before I let Tommy B answer that, how'd you come to that percentage, 98%? It sounds exact. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. Why?
Because I didn't want to say 100%, which was my prediction before the offseason started. We've just signed our own trailer trash back. That's what we do because we never do anything in the offseason, never. Unless it's bringing in some other third or fourth line piece of squack like Zach Parise. Come on. That's why I call him Shampoo Lou. Wash, rinse, repeat. It's the same thing year after year. Never changes.
I want Coach Tommy B to take a stab at that. What do you think the percentage is we come back next year with the same team with the addition of Parise, maybe a bottom tier guy like a Sammy Vatanen on defense?
I'm going to say it's 50-50. I'm saying it's 50-50, guys.
It's depending on Tarasenko.
Coach Tommy B, you're not supposed to say, you're supposed to be, oh my God, that may have completely altered my view now.
It's 50-50 because, look, I mean, you have designs on what you're going to do, but remember, it always takes 2 teams to make that design happen when you're trying to do something. And I can't tell you in the end what St. Louis will decide to do. Could they fold up their tent and say, tough, we're just going to live with it and try it with them? They can do that. So, you have to know what their GM is thinking too. So that's why I call it 50-50.
I think everything is in, and just like every year, it seems like Lou has a plan A, and when it doesn't work out, well, we're just going to roll the same cast and crew out there. That's what I feel this year is too. It was Panarin a couple of years ago. Nope, didn't sign him. Just bring back the same old gang. Last year, same old gang. This year, if it doesn't work out for Tarasenko, same old gang.
He offered Panarin a record-setting contract. I mean, it wasn't him.
But he didn't have a plan B. He did not have a plan B.
Because he thought he was getting him. And you kind of learn the story. Oh, that's great because Robin Leonard was just interviewed about that whole thing, right? You kind of learn that story a little bit about Lou's plan was – we didn't know that Varlamov and Panarin were very good friends. I did not know that. And
I didn't know that either.
And we learned that he wasn't trying to do Bobrovsky and Panarin. He was trying to do Varlamov and Panarin. He believed he was going to bring Varlamov and Panarin to the Islanders that day. That was what Lou thought he had. He thought he had it done.
I didn't read that article. I know that you had alluded, or he was talking about it on a podcast, I think it was, and that was the news that came out. I did hear that also, or I heard something about that.
I prepared for the podcast, and I sent the link to TJ. Did he listen to it 2 days ago? Nope.
You messaged me the synopsis. I didn't have a chance to listen to it, but you messaged me the synopsis. I trusted you, Trump. I trusted you what you said. I hoped you weren't leading me astray. Hold on.
Next time I'll send you one of these, TJ. I'll go in there and I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it over to you in the IM. Okay.
Obviously, I care about the podcast and TJ doesn't.
That sounds like it. I would. I feel very confident. I feel very confident that we will have Tarasenko. There will be a big move involved. If you were asking me, I would probably be sitting closer to a 90% chance that that's likely, a 10% that it's not. I've always taken a position, and I'll say it again. If we don't bring in a big fish this offseason, we don't address the lack of offensive acumen, I think this is a lost offseason in a time period and where the franchise has a short window to win. I would rather go down guns a-blazing, making every single adjustment to the needs we have. Right? The need's not goaltending. The need's not defense. The need is scoring.
Okay, yes. Well, what if we have to change course here? Say this doesn't happen, and they got to go to a team like Anaheim and go make a sizable offer to bring Raquel in instead. They
have that chance.
They're still willing to move him. So what if you fall off of this, and then now you're not to get Raquel? It's going to cost you your freaking 2022 first round pick. It's going to cost you one of those big three defensemen. It's going to cost you something to make that move. What if you come off this and you've got to make that move? Do you make that move?
Raquel is not Tarasenko.
No, he's not.
But to me, the answer is no.
Okay, but
I'm willing to pay the little bit extra for Tarasenko. He's a depressed value on the market right now.
Yes, he is.
But don't try to say, you know what, I'm really gonna get over on who's the GM there? Doug Armstrong?
Yes.
I'm gonna get over on Doug Armstrong. He screwed me 30 years ago when we were with the Devils and he came into town and he won a face-off. He never should have done that for St. Louis.
He won the so important face-off.
Yeah, that's right. He only had a face-off percentage of 33%, but he wound up winning the one. They won them the game. So I'm going to get over on this guy. Don't worry about getting over. Just worry about making your team better so we can win a Stanley Cup. Something you got to give to get. I mean, I have no problem with that. To me, you move Bailey because you're going to have to move a right wing. You're going to have to move a right wing to accommodate Tarasenko, particularly if you've already signed Palmieri back.
You do have to remember the one thing. One thing with some of these guys like Beauvillier and Bailey, they're actually capable of playing either wing. So, and they have played either wing. They both played rights and lefts. I mean, Anders Lee is a strict left wing, right? Palmieri even can play both, though I prefer him on the right. I think he's better.
He didn't show he could play the left wing last year.
He struggled at it. I admit, he's definitely better on the right. He has done both. So I'm saying Lou does tend to get players that are a little bit more versatile, where he can move them around a little bit because he wants to be able to do that. With that being said, I don't see any chance that they're going to trade Beauvillier for Tarasenko, and I know that's what St. Louis asked for. I don't see it.
Well, you talked about how Bailey moves around. I always thought it was funny when we had the ability to move Bailey to the left wing. We had that crunch earlier on this season. I think, right around the playoff time period. They moved Wahlstrom to the left wing. I think Wahlstrom, if that says that he's probably the most malleable out of it, they would feel more comfortable moving in the left wing. What I don't want to see happen is if somehow we work some type of move out, we acquire some piece that Wahlstrom now takes a back seat in his role. I mean, he's got to be a guy who's on a third line bare minimum. I know some people have been playing second or 5 minutes, but he cannot be a guy that gets sent down the Bridgeport.
Let's speculate for a second. Let's say we pull off that deal and we trade Bailey and Hickey to make the money work, and we have to throw them some sweetener. It ends up being Bellows. Let's just say we make that move and Tarasenko's here. Well, to me, your lines have to be this. It has to be Tarasenko, Barzal, Lee, right? And to me, Wahlstrom has to be elevated top six to playing with Nelson and Beauvillier. I think that's where you got to go there. And then you're going to do Parisi, Palmieri, and Pagel, the PPP line. And that's where you got to go, in my opinion, if you make that maneuver.
I would be, honestly, I'm fine with Wahlstrom playing on a third line. And I know it's going to sound crazy because I always do want him to play a higher line. I think as long as you're going to play him power play minutes and he's going to get more than 12 minutes of ice time a night, I'm fine with it. That third line, it's not like you're on a third line that's starving for another offensive piece. You've got Jean-Gabriel Pageau is an excellent center, great third line. And then if you were to have a guy like Parise on the left wing, I know Grumpy, he's cash, he's this, he's that. Parise still brings something to the table, in my opinion. And that's an excellent third line.
But here's
best third line in all of hockey, ladies and gentlemen.
Pageau is more of a creator than Brock Nelson is. I mean, that's, so I don't mind Wahlstrom playing with Pageau. I think Pageau is a better player than Brock Nelson is. I would much rather have J.G. Pajot than Brock Nelson, for certain. So I have no problem with Wahlstrom playing on that line, as long as the minutes are approximately the same. Now, can Parise play those minutes? Probably not. So maybe there's somebody else you can help. Maybe that's where his pal Zajac slides in. He could be another black hole on the left wing, but as long as you have Pajot with Wahlstrom, I kind of like that. Doesn't bother me at all.
Samuel Fishbin says, the grumpy old man, true, we are missing a top goal scorer, but at the end of the day, if we score just 2 more goals in the last game, we won the cup. The Habs wouldn't stand a chance.
Okay. Shmuel, ifs and buts and a bag of nuts. It didn't happen. We got shut out. How many times did we get shut out in Tampa series? Was it 2 or 3 times?
2.
Twice.
You're not going to win a whole lot of series when you get shut out half the time. Not going to happen. We do need a top scorer. I mean, and here's the thing. Tampa's going to take a step back, but you're going to see other teams. I'm petrified of what Philadelphia has done and Carolina. Those are the 2 teams that scare me.
I'm not petrified of Philadelphia. I do like some of the things they did. To me, though, they also did something that they just tried to fix. They brought in 2 defensemen that don't play defense at all, in Yandel and Ristolainen. Ellis, I love. Absolutely love that player. And who is Carter Hart right now? I got to ask the question. Who is he right now?
He'll bounce back. I think they've always been poor defensively, but Ristolainen has proven in the past that he can play defense. I just think the dumpster fire that was Buffalo, they asked him to do too much. And I think he brings a little snarl to their game. That's what they've lacked the last couple of years, is that Philadelphia snarl. I think people forget how good they were 2 years ago, just because they went in the tank last year. I think what they've added this offseason is going to help them. I'm not saying they're the best team in the league. I'm just concerned about making the playoffs. That's what I think. Carolina is a lock, and they give us a hard time. Their style is something that we struggle dealing with. That aggressive, young, fast forecheck gives us boatloads of trouble. And they're in our division now, and that concerns me.
I agree with Carolina. That's the team that concerns me. I'm not still sold on Philadelphia, is all I'm saying. And honestly, I've never been that big of an Alain Vigneault fan. I think he's an overrated coach.
I think he's a guy that can get you right to the edge, like Marty Schottenheimer was. I think a really good coach, but couldn't get you over the top. Unless he had a Tom Brady type who carries the whole team on his own shoulders.
You know what I love about every time he mentions Tom Brady? You know what I love about it? His hatred towards older players, yet his idol is a fossil.
True. But here's the thing. He can still play. He can still play.
Yes,
that's the difference. He can still play. Now, if he was 60 years old and, instead of throwing dimes, he's throwing $50. No, sorry.
Oh my goodness. Jeez, he loves Tom Brady. It's almost like a kid. It's like a kid in a candy shop. Anytime Tom Brady.
You know what? Because
on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show, there's not a single show we can go without him mentioning Tom Brady.
Does Giselle know about this?
No, she doesn't know.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
I don't even think Tom knows about it.
Seriously, yeah, Tom doesn't even know about it. But seriously, I enjoy excellence. That's why you'll hear me talk like Tampa Bay, Hedman, Kucherov, Point. I mean, they're just. How can you not? I'm not a fan of that team, but I mean, I just marvel at their talent. I love Matt Barzal. If he was playing for another team, I'm like, man, look at how good that guy is. I mean, I love guys who are super talented. That's all.
I have great respect. Don't get me wrong. I have great respect for Tampa Bay. I do. I mean, if you don't respect the Stanley Cup champion, then you got some issues up here. You got to respect greatness, and the object is to figure out how to beat it.
Well, yeah.
Michael T saying, and again, this is a funny one to ponder. What are the chances the Rangers get Tarasenko and the Islanders get Eichel?
0.
I don't think
0.
On that.
There is no way in hell Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz will ever deal with a guy like Eichel. I promise you that. I know who they are. They wouldn't want to touch that guy.
Yeah, he's zero.
Moving right along here. We got a lot of comments. I'm trying to siphon through here, guys. So give me 1 second.
Well, TJ, I tell you what, I hate, I like to bash TJ, but he does a lot for the podcast, probably everything really, except, bring any intelligent points of view. But other than that, he handles pretty much everything for most every podcast. So I can't rip on him too much. I like him. He's a good kid.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, Grumpy. I do appreciate it.
Oh, should I play a little music here right now? A little Celine Dion.
Yeah, I'll be on.
Theme song of the Titanic.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could think. She sang the Titanic song, which I couldn't even tell you what it is. I don't even know.
Got a funny one there from Scott L saying, I heard that Lou signed Mr. Burns to his 7-year, $50 million contract.
Yeah, he wanted to get a little bit more than Anders Lee, so he went that extra $1 million, and that's all it took.
I'll tell you one thing. Speaking of Brett Burns, how bad of a situation are the San Jose Sharks in? Oh
Terrible.
My God.
Terrible. I don't know how they can even make it work.
Nothing tops the scorn of a woman. Nothing. And there's a perfect example of it right there.
Right, Evander Kane. But his teammates didn't like him either. They said there's no way they want him back. Interesting.
I've heard a lot of those. Yep, I did see that. A lot of the players that are important. They said a lot of the important players do not want him back.
Well, see, if they were on this team, they just run that Kane out of town on a rail.
Look, if he did what she's claiming he did, I'm not saying it's true because she could be lying just to get back at him, But if he did that, he should never be allowed to play again, ever.
You know what? I'm going to call from ever now when somebody gets run off a team, he's going to get Hosanged. What happened? He got Hosanged.
They may not let him play in Europe. He might have to play hockey in China or something if he turned out that he did this.
And he admits that he has gambling issues. He just said he hasn't gambled on hockey games.
Yeah. Well, he definitely does have gambling issues. Remember, he filed for in 20.
And I'm not saying he did, and I'm not saying that his wife. Here's the thing: they have issues. Okay, let's be honest.
His soon-to-be estranged wife, yeah.
Yeah, but if anyone would know, it would be her. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm not saying he did either, but it really wasn't a good idea to wear that Pete Rose jersey to the press conference.
Hold on, he did what?
I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, he did what?
It's a joke.
I thought he was being serious. Scott B, I'll let you guys tackle this one. Who would you rather trade to bring in a goal scorer, Josh Bailey or Anthony Pavilier?
I don't know. I don't know who you're at. I know they're not asking me that question.
That's simple, Scott. I mean, and I everybody knows I have great respect for Bailey and always done all these years. But if I'm going to make the trade for Tarasenko, I'm trading Bailey before Pavilier.
Okay, here's my answer. Bailey, pull. Blow him out of the sky. Bye-bye, Bailey.
Jay Rich saying if John Cooper was the Islanders head coach, they and he would suck.
I disagree. I think Cooper's a good. I'll tell you what. We would have a lot of more younger players playing on his team. That much I can guarantee you. He wouldn't ride the vet train to the old road home every week.
That's a hard statement because it's really hard to rip a guy who's won 2 straight cups. I get, look, he's had a great team there, and it's easy to sit there and say, well, that team was so good, anybody could have won with it. That's not always necessarily true, number one. Okay, and those what ifs don't work in sports a lot. So, the fact is he won 2 cups. So I can't assume he would stink if he was. We'd stink if he was our coach.
I'm not saying he would have won a Stanley Cup here, but I don't think that we would suck.
Kind of hard to win Stanley Cups, guys. It's not easy.
Very difficult. Very difficult.
Oh goodness.
See, Jay Rich, man. Yep. There you go. He got Hosang. There you go, Scott. There you go.
Another shirt here for me.
Another shirt. Maybe you should actually come out with one. Why don't you try that?
I've got a list of everything I have to have on the shirts here, so don't worry. I keep a running list anytime I see something good. So maybe if I get
ink, is that on the list? Put ink on the shirts.
Oh yeah, that's on the list. Come up with the design as well, grumpy old man. Oh man. Well, let me ask you guys this: when do we, because we're kind of towards the end there comment wise. I know there are a lot of them, but we were just kind of looking for questions because we had a guest, Coach Tommy B, on, so we wouldn't read all the comments like we usually do. We just kind of wanted to read questions there, anything that we thought might provoke a little bit of a discussion. That being said, Coach Tommy B, I want to hear, when do you think we're going to start seeing these dominoes pieces falling into effect?
That's a great question. And today is August 11th, correct? I mean,
Yes,
my first thought that it would be pretty funny if he did this on Friday the 13th, but it would kind of be fitting. But no, I don't think it's happening in the next couple of days. But I do think that there'll definitely be some more moves announced this month. It doesn't mean he's going to announce them all at once. I know there's that theory out there that he was just waiting to announce them all at once. And yes, the league forced the Pelech announcement. But I do think that Lou is going to have a few more things before the end of the month announced. And if he does manage to pull the trade off, then I think everything goes boom, 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 boom. Like you start throwing your cards out like that. So, but I do think that Lou is going to announce a couple of things within this month.
Yeah, for me, it has to be done by September 14th, doesn't it? Isn't that when training camp opens?
Mostly, yes. But remember what we did with Barzell last year.
Yeah, I don't think you can have half your team sitting out.
No, that you can't. Yeah. You can do that with a player.
And I believe all these guys are signed. I don't think they might have to tweak some stuff, but I think that they have basically a structure of what they're going to make, either, for a couple of ham and eggers on the back end. Maybe you say, you know what, okay, we can't afford this much here. We'll throw a bonus for you able to blow your nose on the bench 3 times in a season. That gets you, $50,000, whatever type of bonus structure they put in there. Whereas if they get Trent's
God, freaking mighty!
It is your fault, TJ. You know that.
I do think that, just so people know about Sorokin, he's still in Russia, so I don't think they're looking to announce his contract while he's in Russia. I think they're going to wait till he comes back here before they announce his deal.
Really?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I just want to make sure that they don't sign him right up to where he's a free agent. I don't want to see a 2-year deal like they did with Pulak. I thought that was a mistake, because if you don't play your cards right, and he might want to stay, but, at some point in time, you're going to say, you know what? I want to see what's out there. And if somebody offers him $9 million a year, let's say he puts up 15 goals next year, his price is just going to skyrocket, because he plays as a defenseman who plays for a defensive-oriented team like the Islanders and is able to put the puck in the net. The sky's you could see him getting $9.5 million, and that would price him out of here.
We do get a $1 million raise in the cap next year. Just so people know that it does go up to 82.5, so we can afford that extra million if we got to give it to him. But otherwise, we'd have a problem.
Well, we're still going to be paying off Travis Zajac and Zach Parise and Andy Green's bonuses that they're going to get.
Luckily, Green's bonus is very small this year. Yeah, his bonus is only $250 this year. It's not the crazy bonus that it was last year.
That's okay. I'm sure they pissed away a crazy bonus on Parise.
Got a comment here from Ed V saying, bottom line, do we win a cup this year?
No.
I was about to say, we'll go no, and then Coach Tommy B, what's your opinion on this?
I'll let you know when I see the roster.
Oh, okay. I'll do you one better. If we bring in Tarasenko, I think we definitely have a chance to win the cup. If we don't, I'm putting this as we're going to be struggling to make the playoffs, because our division is tough as nails. I'm not sure when Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, Carlson, all those guys start to fall off. I mean, Washington, in Pittsburgh are very good teams. Carolina is a good team, and Philly made a lot of movements. Whether it's going to actually produce anything on the ice, we'll see.
Okay.
Don't get too bored over there for you, Grump.
It was a real simple yes or no question. Somehow you were able to talk for 2 minutes on it. It was a yes or no question, and you rode the fence as usual.
I didn't. I just told you what I thought.
You said if that will make us a contender. It's yes or no. That's all. Tommy didn't answer it either. Neither one of you had the testicular fortitude to actually make a prediction.
I got to see my roster first. Man. My roster's not complete. Now, by the way, he's allowed to have his 15 seconds of fame, isn't he?
No.
This is the grumpy old man show, if you didn't know. Jerry B asking, did we show the meme? For certain we did. It was good. We enjoyed it. Grumpy liked it. We'll save the other meme for next podcast. You don't want to give all the memes away at once. Scott B says, does Bellows have to leave the Islanders to ever play full time?
Yes.
My answer to that is most likely yes.
Well, again, I had no. I would think probably yes. Oh, Grump!
I mean, I just see you were getting ready to you were getting ready back up on the fence again. You had the ladder out already. Get back on that fence.
I like to straddle it. What can I say? I don't think I straddle it all that often, but that's sometimes. Oh, I even straddled the fence about the answer about straddling the fence. You see that? It was a little bit of an entendre. That being said, I wanted to ask Coach Tommy B one last question here because we're right around 3 hours. I want to keep him forever. I always appreciate that you take the time out to stay on so long with myself and Grumpy. Why did the Islanders sign back Travis Zajac? I want to get because I can't fathom it. I don't think Grumpy would ever really offer anything productive on this side besides because we like 40-year-old men. So I wanted to ask Coach Tommy B maybe as a different insight.
I'm going to give you two answers to this right now because the first one is I do want to remind Islander fans last year that we were told they had re-signed Derek Brassard all summer long. You do remember that, right?
That's right.
We were told that we had re-signed Derek Brassard all summer long, and it turned out we didn't re-sign him. Okay, so I'm not guaranteeing you that Travis Zajac has been re-signed because of that. He'd be the one person that I have a question mark against on whether he actually was re-signed. Now, I obviously think it's definitely possible at a minimum wage contract where they're sitting him as the fifth center and they're going to pay him the minimum $750 and he's going to play maybe half the season because he's only going to be filling in for injured guys. But why would they re-sign? Simple is because they want an extra center on the roster just in case somebody gets hurt. That would be the only reason that I could see that, and the only sensible reason for actually signing him. That, and if they're keeping him around because they see him as an eventual coach in this system.
Oh. I will ask you this: what were to not be maybe a reason? I know Phil Fax, I'm sure when we speak with him, it's not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. Why not give a guy like an Otto Koivu a chance to grow? Because I'm going to tell you, I don't watch every Bridgeport game. I've seen what he can do. I've seen his hands. I've seen, I see his body. I see his frame out there. Why not give him a chance out there on the ice as opposed to Travis Zajac?
I have no. Yeah, go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
As a fifth center, you're talking about a fifth center. Why not give the young kid a chance? I see those are the things that just drive. It's like they're like young players are afterthoughts in this organization. I mean, that's just the way I feel.
I understand that thought too, and I would probably personally would rather see Otto on the roster than Zajac. If you would ask me, I would prefer that. I'm not sold on Cavola being a center, by the way, just so you all know. I think he's a better winger. I think he's meant to play the wing. I'm not all that sold with his speed at center. I think he has very good hands. He's got a good nose for the net. And for people who've actually watched him play in Bridgeport, I don't know if you guys have seen him. He's got good hands around the net. I think he's made to be a winger, guys, personally. Can he fill in as a center? Certainly. But I think that's his better position. Now, I would rather see Otto up with this team as an extra forward than Travis Zajac. That would be my choice.
Yeah, because for me, Zajac can't skate anymore either. I mean, that's the first thing that goes is your speed. I mean, he was never a jet anyway. But it's like, you can tell when guys can't skate anymore. They get left behind.
Oh, yeah.
Leo Komarov, Zdeno Chara, Zach Parisi, Travis Zajac, and pretty much anybody on.
Parisi's still a better skater than Zajac and Komarov, though.
Yeah, he is, but they can't skate at all.
Jerry,
Komarov's funny. He's funny to watch Komarov skate.
Yeah, he never gets out of the defensive end.
It's almost hard. It's hard to watch Leo skate.
It's like that lawnmower that you're just trying to.
Just can't.
No matter how much you go ahead and pump the gas in the clutch, it's just still not going to.
I just remember Barzell looking over to the left, and there's Komarov 25 foot behind. He's behind the defenseman. I'm like, And, if I'm Barzal, I'm like, I almost feel like he should go over there and tomahawk Komarov. Get up here. Pretend like you're a forward. Pretend.
Jerry B said, if we were forced to play either Zajac or Parise because of injury, who would you rather see out there? I think a pretty resounding answer of Parise, right?
I would say Parise, yes.
Parise, definitely.
And got a comment here from Brian P saying, great show, guys. Thanks, TJ, Grumpy Old Man, Tommy B, Mike M, Frankie K, and of course, D-Cut for shout out for my girl, Maureen there, losing her father. She greatly appreciated the love. Islanders fans are the best.
Yes, we're thinking of you, Brian, without a doubt.
Brian, great guy, Brian. For people who don't know him, he's a super dude.
Absolutely.
He likes a grumpy old man, so you know he is.
Jesus. Jeez Louise. Well, guys, we're right at about 3 hours. I want to give you guys a chance to kind of plug everything. And, we're kind of here at the tail end. If you have any closing thoughts or comments, now's the time. I'll let you go first there, Coach Tommy B.
Well, first off, I'll start by saying once again, I greatly appreciate you having me here on the show. You guys do a fantastic job. It's an honor to come on once in a while with you gentlemen. I love talking hockey with you guys. Even when we don't agree with the same things, we have our different opinions, but we handle it maturely. We handle it like, what should we say, professionals. So I do truly appreciate coming on here, and I'll enjoy the next time if you're willing to have me back. And I'll keep watching your show when I'm out on and probably bothering you guys a little bit with my comments.
Oh, God.
We're in the middle, we're in almost middle of August. So, we're still a couple of months away from all this fun. So I do say to the Islander fans, again, as frustrating as it can be sometimes to wait for these things to be announced, they're going to be announced. It's going to happen. And just, guys, say a little prayer and cross your fingers that we can get this Tarasenko trade done. Because to me, that makes our offseason an A+ if we pull it off.
For certain. I like it. And now, Grumpy, I'll let you get your last words in here.
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't. From TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm not including Tommy Baffy in there.
Oh, goodness. We got one more question. I'll let you guys take that. Jerry B says, which is further behind, Leo on the rush or TJ/Grumpy's receding hairline?
It's Leo on the rush. Without a doubt.
Tommy B's got a ponder.
That's a really tough one.
You can still see my hair. You can never see Leo in the offensive zone. So
it's tough. But you know what? I'm gonna have to call that a drawer. I'm gonna call that a drawer.
To be determined at a later date. Well, I want to thank you guys here, number one, for coming on the show, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the live stream and listening to the podcast. Again, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the action on YouTube. Again, like and follow on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be going live again this Saturday with Kim Isles Girl 3, and we will be having a great time too. We love having you on, Coach Tommy B. We always like having you on. Again, the man with the inside hand, Coach Tommy B. Has his hand inside the Lou Lamoriello trash can for certain. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, Grumpy. Thank you, Coach Tommy B.
My pleasure.